High School District Board of Trustees. I'm calling this session to order. Today is April 25th, and it's 7:00 p.m. I will start with a roll call. Trustee Griffin.
Present.
Trustee Chavez.
Present.
Trustee Jacobson and Trustee Land are absent, and I am present. Tonight, we have a team from Hannah Interpreting as our Spanish interpreters. For those who would like to attend the meeting virtually in Spanish, that option is available. Hannah Interpreting, would you please communicate that for us this evening? Thank you.
Yes, gladly. Thank you. Buenas tardes a todos y bienvenidos a esta reunión que contará con la interpretación simultánea al español. Entonces, si ustedes desean aprovechar de esta oportunidad, les pedimos que si están utilizando su computadora portátil o computadora de escritorio, van a localizar el icono con figura de globo en la parte inferior de su pantalla cuando este aparezca en un minuto, ya que termine de dar yo esta explicación, y van a seleccionar Language Interpretation y después van a seleccionar Spanish para español, o si están en un iPad o dispositivo similar, busquen el menú con los 3 puntitos en la esquina superior del lado derecho de su pantalla y pulsen en interpretación de lenguaje, igual Language Interpretation y luego español. Muchísimas gracias. Thank you.
Gracias. If you wish to view closed captions, of this meeting, please view the meeting on the SMUHSD board meeting YouTube channel. The link to the YouTube channel can be found on our website. You may view the captions in English as we live stream our meeting tonight, and you may view the captions in a variety of other languages if you choose to watch this after the meeting has ended. Viewers may request additional accommodations by calling 650-558-2201. For our deaf and hard of hearing community, we have a team from Hannah Interpreting Services, and they will be interpreting our meeting this evening. We would like to ask everyone to speak at a clear and reasonable pace for our interpreters. Thank you. Okay, if we could get one of our student board reps to help us with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We will move on to item I, report of actions taken in closed session, and there were no actions taken in closed session tonight. We will now adopt the agenda. The Board of Trustees may either adopt the agenda as presented or make a change to the agenda through a motion, second, and majority vote. The Brown Act prohibits any additions to the agenda without a 72-hour public notice for regularly scheduled board meetings. Are there any questions or comments from the board or superintendent with respect to the agenda? No? Okay. And any questions from the public? None? Okay, thank you. I'd like a motion.
I'll move adoption of the agenda.
Thank you. That's a motion by Trustee Griffin,
I'll second that.
a second by Trustee Chavez. Is there any discussion? No? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, I missed one person. Our student board rep, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. And now we can, all in favor.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Okay, motion carries. We'll now go on to public comment. If you are joining us in person and wish to make a comment about an agenda item or during the public comment section at the beginning of the agenda, please fill out a request to address the board form and submit it to the secretary. This form should be given to the secretary before the agenda item begins. If you are joining us virtually, use the raise hand feature on Zoom to be recognized. When invited to do so, your camera must be on before you are called upon to make a public comment. We will call on you to begin your comment once we have promoted you into the meeting. If your camera is not operational, please email your comments to Board of Trustees at board, BOARD, at SMUHSD.org. Please note that the comments are limited to 3 minutes. The board president may increase or decrease the time allowed for public comment, depending upon the topic and number of persons wishing to be heard. I will call on in-person comments first. Are there any comments in-house?
There are none?
Thank you. How about on Zoom?
No, there are none.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you very much. We'll go on to governing board comments. I guess we'll start with Trustee Griffin. Do you have any comments tonight?
Good evening, everyone. Just quickly, we had this past Monday, we finally got around to having a meeting of prospective members of the Black Parent Association.
Mhm.
So we're hopeful that it'll be reconstituted and back in action by the fall. And I'd like to recognize Ms. Chalkley for doing an excellent job of leading the meeting. And I don't want to steal Trustee Andrade Zuniga's thunder. She was there also, and she'd been a advocate for getting the group back together and active again. So it's very, it was a very good meeting, a lot of energy. So
Thank you. How about you, Trustee Chavez?
Thank you. I just wanted to commend all of our students at all of our school sites for everything that happens at the end of the year. You're almost there, almost at the end of the school year. There's a lot going on. You have many of our students have graduation that they're concerned about, preparing for that. Many students are going to the various proms that we have. I know there's a lot of, I've talked to a couple of students, and my own student as well, my daughter. So I know that there's a lot of anxiety and stress related to everything at the year end, especially if you're a senior. And even if you're not a senior, there's a lot of things to worry about. So I just want to remind all the students that we have the wellness centers at our schools. Your counselors are there. Take a deep breath. You're doing great. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a few comments. I attended the Coast to Coast School Board Conference in Washington, D.C. a couple of weeks ago, and I will elaborate more on the trip at the next meeting. I know tonight's a jam-packed meeting, so I'll be brief. I attended the DTAC reception last week, and it was nice to see just all of the progress and all of the great just the great programming that they have out at DTech. So it was great to see the principal and all of the students, and it was a great time. We had a study session with our DLAC committee this past Tuesday, and what's very reassuring and very I don't know, it's good to know that a lot of our recommendations have already been implemented and are in the process of being implemented. So I'm glad that we're on the same page with the community and that the community is feeling supported. So that's excellent. We had a outing yesterday with our student board representatives at the Giants game, and it was so fun. It was nice to see all the students having a good time, and it was just nice to get to know people a little bit better. And thank you to the staff, to Shard, to Superintendent Booker, and to just everybody that had hands in getting all of that organized. So thank you for that. The Kent Awards will be on May 10th at the Crown Plaza. For those of you who are interested in joining, you can go onto the San Mateo County School Board Association website and purchase your tickets there. I believe it's about $65 per person, but it's a really great night, and we've got some awards that our district has earned, so that's excellent. Yesterday was Administrative Professionals Day, and I know throughout our school district, we have a ton of really important people that make this district go round. And so without you, we cannot continue with our business day in and day out. So thank you to everyone. And I want to highlight Charlene Aquino and Laylee. They do the best work for us on the board, and I appreciate you both so much. So thank you very much for everything you do. And I want to recognize our ASL interpreters and our Spanish interpreters. Thank you for providing access to our community, as well as of all of our IT folks and the folks that keep this building clean and open and just make sure that everything's taken care of. A few weeks ago, at the beginning of April, Dr. Samia Showman, Elsa Pulido, and Joanna Fate had organized a dinner for the end of Ramadan. And our students were there, their families. It was a really great experience. It was out at Mills. My family was able to participate. And it was really nice to see the community supported once again. Yeah, and so I think that's it for tonight. So thank you very much for all your comments, board. Going on to the next item. Can you scroll up for me? Thank you. Okay. Communications to the Board of Trustees. Superintendent Booker, are there any communications?
Yes, we have one. I wanted to let you know that the San Mateo Union High School District completed its review of the second interim report for the 23-24 fiscal year for Design Tech High School. And we reported that the district concurs with the report, that their second interim financial report is sound. And through and their actuals through January 31st, 2024, and it was approved on March 13th, 2024. So that's just a letter.
Thank you. Okay, we will go on to recognition. Superintendent Booker, are there any items for recognition?
Absolutely. We have a whole bunch. So tonight we have 3 proclamations before the board for your approval. Several of our student board council members contributed to the writing of these proclamations, and we'll read them to you this evening. We're going to start this evening with our Jewish American Heritage Month proclamation. And we're joined this evening by Leah Chili, who's going to read it in person. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, thank you so much for the opportunity. San Mateo Union High School District proclamation recognizing May 1st to 31st, 2024 as Jewish American Heritage Month. Whereas Jewish Americans have been an important part of American history and have greatly contributed to all areas of American life and culture since our nation's earliest days, and whereas on April 20th, 2006, the federal government proclaimed May as Jewish American Heritage Month, stating, as a nation of immigrants, the United States is better and stronger because of Jewish people from all over the world have chosen to become American citizens. And since then, proclamations in support of Jewish American Heritage Month have been made by presidents of the United States annually. And whereas the Jewish American experience is a story of faith, fortitude, and progress, generations of Jews have fled to the United States in search of a better life for themselves and their families, and these immigrants made invaluable contributions in support of equality and civil rights through their leadership and achievements. And whereas Jewish Americans connect to their Jewish identity in a variety of ways, such as culturally, ethnically, religiously, and by following Jewish ethics and values. And whereas Jewish Americans are racially, ethnically, socially, politically, and economically diverse, and nearly 40% of Bay Area's Jewish households include one person of color, at least. And whereas we also recognize that many Jewish Americans continue to face prejudice, bigotry, and violence as they experience a dramatic rise in anti-Semitic events. And whereas the San Mateo Union High School District is committed to providing a safe learning and working environment that is free from discrimination and harassment. The district denounces bullying, hazing, hate incidents, and any behavior that infringes on the safety or well-being of students, employees, or any person within the district's jurisdiction without regard to intent as outlined in the district's bulletin on responding to and reporting bullying, hazing, and hate incidents and crimes. And whereas SMUHSD shares an obligation to condemn and combat anti-Semitism wherever it exists, to include Jewish Americans in all facets of civic life, and to stand with the Jewish American community against hatred or bigotry in our district and country. And whereas we celebrate the rich and diverse heritage of the Jewish community, including those who live, work, and play in SMUHSD. And whereas we recognize Jewish American commitment to civic engagement and how SMUHSD has been enriched by local Jewish institutions and synagogues. Therefore, be it resolved by the governing board that the San Mateo Union High School District hereby declares the month of May 2024 as Jewish American Heritage Month in appreciation of the achievements and contributions made by members of the Jewish community. The SMUHSD Board of Trustees calls upon all residents to celebrate Jewish Americans who have woven the fabric of our country and community and supports opportunities to learn more about Jewish American history and culture. San Mateo Union High School District passed and adopted on the 25th day of April, 2024. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, are there any questions or comments from the board in respect to the proclamation?
I just want to say thank you to the students who worked on the proclamation, all the proclamations, but I'll just say that because we're reviewing this one. And thank you to our amazing student who read the proclamation. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, thank you very much to the students for just putting all of this together. I will now take a motion to approve.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Great,
Oh,
thank you.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. So we got a motion by trustee Chavez and a second by trustee Griffin. See, where am I? There's no discussion. Okay, and student board representative, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And trustee Griffin?
Aye.
Trustee Chavez?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Thank you. Motion carries. Okay, we'll go on to the Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month
Great,
proclamation.
thank you.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
So this evening, we have our Asian American Pacific Islander Month proclamation. And joining us this evening, we've got Jasleen Lay, let's see, Corinne Sue Herman, Bianca May Santos, and online joining us is Jamie Lazaro. Thank you.
San Mateo Union High School District proclamation recognizing May 1st through 31st, 2024 as Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month proclamation. Whereas, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, Asians and Pacific Islanders make up the fastest growing racial group in the United States, numbering more than 10 million people, or nearly 4% of the population. And whereas California itself, home to over 6 million students of Asian and Pacific Islander descent, kindergarten through grade 12. And whereas these students and their families reflect the rich diversity of cultures and heritages of many different countries of Asia and the Pacific Islands, and Californians have benefited greatly from their contributions to our society. And whereas we recognize that members of the AAPI community continue to face xenophobia, scapegoating, negative stereotypes, and bigotry, and such stereotypes can depict AAPI people as a monolith, ignoring the community's historical struggles and activism. And whereas the San Mateo Union High School District is committed to providing a safe learning and working environment for all of the members of its community that is free from discrimination and harassment. The district denounces bullying, hazing, hate incidents, or any behavior that infringes on the safety or well-being of students, employees, or any person within the district's jurisdiction without regard to intent as outlined in the district's bulletin on responding to and reporting bullying, hazing, and hate incidents and crimes. And
Whereas now more than ever, the members of our SMUHSD community should remember our heritage and history and recognize that we must continue to celebrate the contributions of Asians and Pacific Islanders as we also defend their rights for equal and fair treatment as Americans during a time when discrimination against people of Asian and Pacific Islander heritage continues and has indeed increased recently due to prejudices stemming from the COVID-19 pandemic. Whereas despite hardships and barriers, the people of Asia and the Pacific Islands who came to this country and their descendants have made immense contributions to California's economic growth and development, weaving clear and distinct threads into the state's social fabric and
whereas, despite hardships and barriers, the people of Asia and the Pacific Islands whereas the history social science framework for California Public Schools kindergarten through grade 12 states that the history curriculum of the community, state, region, nation, and the world must reflect the experiences of men and women of different racial, religious, and ethnic groups and must be integrated at every level. And whereas Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month is celebrated annually at state and national levels. And now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of the San Mateo Union High School District that May is designated as Asian Pacific Islander Month, and that the San Mateo Union High School District calls upon schools, staff, students, and families to observe May as Asian Pacific Islander History Month by celebrating and recognizing the countless contributions made by Asians and Pacific Islanders throughout our history.
Great, thank you. Okay, at this moment, are there any questions or comments by the board about the proclamation? No. Okay. Okay, I would like to get a motion to approve the proclamation.
So move.
Thank you. I have a motion by Trustee Griffin
I'll second that.
and a second by Trustee Chavez. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And our student board reps, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay.
May
Motion.
I make a comment?
Yes,
I just want to
absolutely.
recognize, well, what a great job the students doing their, their best reading here, and I appreciate it. You really exemplify the best stuff, the best things in the district.
Mhm.
And if there ever was a night of diversity, the Asian Pacific Islander and the Jewish months being celebrated simultaneously, I think that really emphasizes
Yeah, I agree.
the diversity in the district. So anyway, job well done.
I echo. Thank you for saying that.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm just still blown away by all of the students. I mean, throughout this year and how we've organized our student board rep program. I'm just so proud. So thank you, all of you, for doing the best that you can here and showing the wonderful parts of our district. So thank you. Okay, now we'll go on to Educator Appreciation Month proclamation. Superintendent Booker.
Thank you. So we have two more students who are joining us, and I think it's completely apropos that we have students reading and helping to develop the proclamation in support of all of our educators across the district. So this evening, we've got Kaya Jimenez and Shreya Gupta joining us. Go ahead.
Just really quick before we read this proclamation, we wanted to thank you. We wanted to thank the board for allowing us to read such an important proclamation, because it's all of you and all of our teachers and principals that we encounter every single day as we go to school. San Mateo Union High School District proclamation recognizing May 1st through 31st, 2024 as Educator Appreciation Month proclamation. Whereas the San Mateo Union High School District recognizes that regardless of a person's title or role in the district, all of our employees are educators charged with the awesome responsibility and privilege to inspire, nurture, and teach our students so that they may achieve their best possible personal outcomes. They are all educators by virtue of their choice to work in our district and work with our students. And whereas the district recognizes that Teacher Appreciation Week is May 6th through 10th, 2024, and that May 8th, 2024 is California Day of the Teacher. Our district is home to approximately 620 certificated staff who deliver a world-class education to our over 10,000 students, including teens and adult learners. These individuals have an impact on our students during and well beyond their high school years. And whereas the district recognizes that May 19th through 25th, 2024 is Classified Employee Week. SMUHSD is home to approximately 534 classified educators who support the growth and education of not only our students, but staff and school community. And whereas we recognize that April 29th through May 3rd, 2024 is School Nutrition Employee Week, and that May 3rd, 2024 is School Food Hero Day. These individuals provide food for our students so they are able to fuel their bodies to succeed in their academic journey. In our district, we employ 44 food heroes, and whereas School Bus Driver Appreciation Day was recognized on April 23rd, 2024. Our school bus drivers are often the first and last educators to interact with the learners that they serve every day. We employ 23 school bus drivers, 6 van drivers, 1 substitute school bus driver, 1 dispatcher, 1 account tech, 1 shop foreman, and 3 technicians, and
Whereas School Bus Driver May is Mental Health Awareness Month. Furthermore, May 12th is celebrated as National Appreciation Day for mental health providers. Our district employs 35 educators in the mental health field to support the needs of our students and school community. And whereas the district wishes to recognize our health service educators in the month of May for their relentless attention to the health and well-being of our students and their fellow educators. We have 10 educators in health and services. And whereas the district organizes our maintenance, operations, and facilities, views educators who support and maintain our facilities to the highest standards, providing world-class environments for our students. We have 95 maintenance, operation, and facilities use educators. And whereas the district recognizes that the U.S. Schools Principals Day falls on May 1st every year. The administrative leadership in our district leads, educates, and supports and inspires their entire school communities. And whereas we all recognize that as educators in the San Mateo Union High School District, we have at most 4 short years with our students to educate, inspire, teach, and support them on their path to educational and professional success and well-being beyond high school. And now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of San Mateo Union High School District that May is designated as the SMUHSD Educator Appreciation Month, recognize and appreciating the commitment of all our educators to improving the lives of our students. San Mateo Union High School District passed and adopted on the 25th of April, 2024. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, are there any questions or comments by the board?
Just kind of want to say what we've been saying.
Go ahead.
And whoever put this together, it's outstanding. Everybody in the district wide is recognized. I think that's great. And thank you to our wonderful readers. Both of you did an excellent job. Thank you.
Thank you.
I was not aware, and I have to recognize you too, because I didn't realize we had students reading the last proclamation, and you did a great job also.
Mhm.
I'd like to make a motion, but I'm still looking for where the trustees are listed in there.
They mentioned that.
Yeah, they did. They mentioned us. Mhm.
I was looking, the only person I saw was Be It Resolved, the Board of Trustees.
Well, Superintendent Booker, wasn't there? We didn't have a proclamation because I don't think we should have one. But didn't you mention that it was national, or was it just called statewide school board appreciation? That was last month, I believe. Yeah.
But one of the students did say
They did.
when
Yep.
they first
they did.
got on to the to the stand there that
Yeah.
yeah. I want to recognize all of our educators in this district. We have an amazing school district.
We do.
We have so many wonderful options for our students, and just the compassion and the love that our educators here have is always just phenomenal. Our educators have been through a lot in the past few years, from COVID to a lot of the badgering for information and the discounting of their knowledge for the subjects that they teach. And I just want to say how much I appreciate all all of you, each and every one of you, for still sticking it out and being here
Mhm.
every single day, showing up for one of the most important jobs in the world
Mhm.
is educating our young people.
Mhm.
So thank you. Mhm. Okay, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve the proclamation.
Great, thank you. So motion made by trustee Chavez,
Second.
second by trustee Griffin. Our student board reps, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, now we will go on to the consent agenda. We're moving on to the consent agenda. Do any of the trustees wish to pull an item from this
I
agenda?
would like to pull item number 6.
Okay, item number 6. Anything else? No? Okay,
Thank you again, students.
thank you. Bye. Thank you.
You did great.
Oh, they're amazing. Okay,
I'll move adoption of the consent agenda. Unless
oh,
item 6.
sorry. I gotta do public comment. Sorry. Are there any comments from the public?
There are none.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a motion by trustee Griffin on all items except for item 6.
I'll second that.
And second by
Yeah,
trustee Chavez. Is there any discussion on that? No? Okay. All right, student board reps, how do you vote?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, and so go ahead with item
Oh,
6.
Great, thank you. No, I just have a quick comment to make, and I know for consent, if we want to make a comment about any item, we need to pull it. So I wanted to pull item 6 just to make a comment about the MOU with Cora. I read, all of us trustees read through the every consent item, but this one really stood out to me. This 3-year MOU highlights the importance of student safety. So I just wanted to read just one or two sentences from the attachment, because I really think this is important. The MOU establishes a collaborative framework between Community Overcoming Relationship Abuse, which is CORA, San Mateo Union High School District, and San Mateo County Coalition for Safe Schools and Communities to provide a comprehensive prevention and intervention programming to support youth in our county. And CORA is pretty much known throughout the county for helping with domestic violence, dating violence, trafficking. There's a whole, I'm not doing it justice. I mean, there's a whole realm that they help. And so I'm really proud that our school district has this MOU, and that we have another outlet for students, more support for the students in this area. So I just wanted to bring those comments. I don't know if my colleagues have any more comments to make, but I just feel very proud that we have an MOU that highlights the importance of student safety and student wellness. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, and Cora does excellent work. You're never too old or too young to get help with these types of situations in your life. During the Domestic Violence Awareness Month, they're very they have a lot of great programming during that month, but also our school district is really committed to providing information and resources around any type of abuse. So thank you. Thank you for pulling that,
thank you.
trustee Chavez.
And if there's no more comments, I make the motion to approve.
Thank you. We got a motion by trustee Chavez
Second.
and a second by trustee Griffin. Student board reps, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Okay. We'll go on to regular reports. Report from our superintendent.
Thank you very much. The first thing I want to say is just to acknowledge and offer my sincere appreciation for all of our educators across the district. While that proclamation summed it up, and again, like I said, I'm so grateful that we had students read the proclamation. Education is a really tough profession, and I have this mantra that anyone who works in the district is an educator, because whether you're a payroll technician or a bus driver or any role, really, you have choices. And as individuals, we've all chosen to not only work in the field of education, but specifically work here in San Mateo Union High School District, and I'm so grateful for that. There are a lot of educational opportunities up and down the state, and for our educators to choose San Mateo Union, again, super grateful and grateful for all the work that you do day in and day out. This community is really a community. We've talked so much about it. I use this term 10-6-1 all the time to describe us, right? 10 schools, 6 cities or 6 communities in one district. And together we're so much stronger as an organization and really can move forward with achieving our goals where every single student graduates and every single student thrives. And I would extend that to say that all of our educators thrive as well. And I know so many of us work tirelessly for that. So my sincere thanks to all of our educators across the district. You're amazing. And with these last 5 or 6 weeks of school, I hope that we just really finish strong. So thank you. And with that, I just want to make one more announcement, and it's an acknowledgement going back a few weeks to our Pride Prom. I want to take a moment to acknowledge our 46 generous Pride Prom donors for 2024. This event would not have been possible without our donor support, because it's these leaders in our community. Because of them, we were able to fully fund the event, and all 200 plus students attended at no cost. We raised over $20,000 this year, allowing us to create a memorable event for everyone who attended. And I want to share a few quotes from our donors. One person said, "I give to the Pride Prom each year to make dreams come true. Together, we create a beautiful evening filled with love and joy." Additionally, my donation is important to me because I did not have the opportunity to celebrate with my peers when I was in high school. Providing this prom is so essential for our youth, and have made this a part of my annual gifting plan. Pride Prom 2025 has already been scheduled for April 18th, 2025, and will be held at the College of San Mateo again next year. Please mark your calendars and plan to join us as a volunteer. And please visit our SMUHSD website, www.smuhsd.org/Pride Prom for more information and especially to donate. So thanks again. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Now our report from our student board representatives. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Hiroki, and I'm representing Hillsdale High School. And so as a student board member, yesterday we had a meeting and gave an input about new curriculum system that our district is making. And it was actually a great way to express our opinions and how that new curriculum can be meet students' needs, and it felt like our opinions matter. So it was really a great opportunity. And we also had Giants game after that, and it was a great way for team bonding. And yeah, and I would like to appreciate for all of the members and the people who actually put time to make this happen and prepare for this. And as a Hillsdale representative, I like to talk about how I think from today there's gonna be a dance performance called Night Moves, and there's also a package system where parents can send you a gift or small packages to children, and then they can get some cheers and motivation to get through the finals. So overall, April is ending and May is coming up, so everybody might get busy and get rough, but it's been great. Thank you.
I'd like to add to that. Yes, as Hiroki mentioned, yesterday we had our meeting. It was really great seeing how the district seems to kind of put this much effort into making sure that the students are being heard and actually paid attention into. But it was really rewarding for me to see that when talking about the things that we could improve upon, a lot of us also agreed in the fact that some of our teachers in our school kind of are already implementing this. from their own will and their own observations. It was really nice to see that. But everything else has been, yeah, as he mentioned, the Giants game. It was really fun just walking around. It was kind of windy, but we still had fun. As of for San Mateo, there's been a lot going on. I feel it's just hard to catch up with everything. I think today is boys varsity volleyball senior night. Just now, we had our 12th night play. It was really fun. I actually went to see it, and it was just very nice to see how even the students kind of put a little bit of their own touch. There was a Rob song in the middle of the of the play. It was really interesting. We just had prom. That was really fun too. And then senior days upcoming, also the boat dance and everything else. Everyone seems to be busy. I mean, it's the end of the year, but overall, it's been pretty nice. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, it sounds like y'all are really busy, but how fun. Yeah, yesterday was great to see all of you, and I'm glad you enjoyed yourselves. Thank you. Okay, going on to report from the District Teachers Association.
Good evening, President Andrade Zuniga and members of the board, district cabinet. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, as always. First, I would just like to join with others who have recognized students in presenting in public in front of an official elected body. It's not easy to do. It's not easy for me, but it's certainly not easy for students to the prospect of doing something so important and so significant. They should be commended for their courage and their acumen for being able to send those messages and present them well. So I do want to recognize them, and also want to share others' comments about the appreciation for all the educators in the district. I really have always appreciated Superintendent Booker's mantra, as he calls it, that we're all educators and we're all part of the process. Obviously, classroom teachers are classified brothers and sisters, and of course, administrative support as well. We all are part of the same community with the same goals, with the same ideas, and the same message to the community that we're here to support people and we're here to do the best we can for the students of this district. So again, celebrating Educators Appreciation Month, a great opportunity and a great time of year. I wanted to also recognize the district for making a presentation on what's described as the equity update, specifically focusing on addressing dehumanizing language that is far too common in our district. And I think the district has made some really great initial first steps in its process to address this and curtail and actually help educate the educational community about the importance of curtailing this type of language and this type of really behavior. I leafed through the presentation briefly, and again, commend the district for its really important initial first steps, and also want to recognize the reflection of the presenters or the presentation in that it's a work in progress, and it's definitely something that it never will be finished, because it's never acceptable to have any kind of dehumanizing, disparaging, discriminatory language behavior in an educational community that is intended to lift up and support all students in the community. So again, appreciate the efforts and looking forward to continued work in this capacity. And finally, again, speaking late with all the reports, again, having to tag on to others' ideas. But yes, it is the end of the year, closing in on the end of the year. It's really hard to believe that there are only 24 school days left. And, with block scheduling and you only see kids 3 times a week, it's almost unnerving to think about all the things that we still have to do with AP tests, finals, graduation. It's that positive anxiety and that nervousness that is sort of colored with positive expectations and appreciation for accomplishments, and recognizing where we've come from and where we're going and where we've been. So it's a great opportunity to reflect on the year and look forward to wrapping it up, but also a new year to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, next report is by CSEA Chapter 519. Hello.
Good evening to the esteemed school board members, my respected colleagues at the superintendent's cabinet, and the incredible student representatives. I think you guys are awesome, and I acknowledge your sacrifice being here tonight. I appreciate the work that you do. Today, we CSEA 519 Negotiations Committee met with the district representatives and open contract negotiations for the 24-25 school year. Our team is diverse and is a fair representation of our union as a whole. We are 9 different classifications, 9 unique classifications across 7 different district facilities. First reopener that we talked about was Article 8, salary compensation. We had to move this article to a future date, as traditionally we follow the teachers union with their negotiations, and we negotiate for what they ask for. They are not meeting and negotiating until May 22nd, so we are going to get back to that after they get their business done. Article 9, health and welfare benefits. This was also moved to a later date. The district has not received the rate package from Kaiser or Sutter Health yet. Dr. Black informed us that we're going to get the Kaiser information at the beginning of or end of the month, and we're going to get Sutter's information probably mid-month, and at that point we'll be able hopefully to negotiate these terms on our next meeting, which is scheduled for May 15th. Let's see, Article 22, the reclassification process. This one was a little bit contentious and will require a little bit more time and a lot more effort on both parties, but we do hope to get this resolved quickly. And we think we can get it done working with our district people. We hope to have more clarity on this heading into our next meeting. Finally, Article 23, bus driver language. This was one item that was very easily negotiated, very straightforward. We basically cleaned up some language that created an unfair bidding process for the drivers. The situation that we addressed was in an event that a bus driver would need to substitute last minute, they would do the right thing. They'd sign up for the route, help out the district, help out the children get to where they're going, and then they would lose their spot in the bidding process and be put at the bottom of the list. This felt like a de facto punishment for doing the right thing. So we went ahead and addressed that language, got it cleaned up, and we moved on. That was a very simple process. I thank you both for that. And that's really all we have tonight. I appreciate everyone's time this evening, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, next is report of the San Mateo Adult School Teachers Association.
We have Miss Jean Tom. You can unmute and turn on your camera.
Okay, good evening. Thank you to the board, to President Lahia Andrade Zuniga, Vice President Robert Griffin, trustees Terry Chavez, Jennifer Jacobson, and Greg Land for the opportunity to present today. My name is Jean Tom, and I'm the Testing and Assessment Coordinator at San Mateo Adult and Career Ed. And tonight I'd like to just update you on some of the things that are happening at our school across several departments. First up is CTE, Career and Technical Education. You may already be familiar with some of the classes that we offer. They range from things like professional communications, patient care fundamentals, building trade, math prep. But in addition to workforce focused courses, CTE also has programs that promote and encourage community engagement. And one of these is the ESL City Government Academy. The ESL City Government Academy is a partnership with the City of San Mateo. It's a unique hands-on class for our ESL students to learn about municipal government and to engage with key personnel from different departments. It's very similar. If you're familiar with this, the San Mateo City Services Academy, it's modeled after that program. An overview, it's 15-week program. It meets on Thursday mornings, and the students take field trips to 7 different city departments, ranging from the city manager to public works to the fire department. They have 8 classroom sessions, 2 formal class projects. And this class just wrapped up about a week ago today. And 18 of our students completed and received a certificate of completion from the city of San Mateo. One of our students, Jiong M. Wu, wrote a letter of gratitude, and I'd like to read a portion of it. I am grateful for all the stakeholders who have created a program that has had a meaningful impact on all aspects of my life. Especially thanks to Denise, that's the representative from the city of San Mateo, Patricia and Lynette, those are the instructors, for their amazing leadership and support. We were all engaged and able to participate. Their efforts to actively listen to and incorporate feedback from us, rather than just planning the program, made it possible for us to participate more sincerely. Next up is our high school diploma and GED program. We started out the semester strong. We have 47 high school diploma students, 8 adult basic ed students, 44 GED students, and 26 Spanish GED students. This is an upward trend, and we're also looking forward to celebrating our graduates on Thursday, June 27th. And we'll have more information about graduation in the coming months. Moving on to ESL. So our summer semester has started. It started on Monday, the 15th of April, and we will conclude July 12th. 339 students attended our registration sessions, which were held over a span of several weeks in March and April. So we've added about another 150 students to our morning classes, 170 to our evening classes, 74 to our listening speaking classes, and 45 to our writing classes. So if you do the math, that means some students sign up for more than one class. This brings our current ESL enrollment to 1,441 students. I'd like to give a shout out to our student volunteers whose help during registration was invaluable. During our 22 registration sessions, we had 57 student volunteers. On average, each volunteering shift was 3 hours, and approximately half of our volunteers volunteered more than once. And this equates to over 250 volunteer hours. Events, as mentioned earlier, in this tonight, May is Mental Health Month. So to kick this off, we will be hosting a mental health wellness tabling fair for our morning and evening students. We've partnered with numerous community agencies, among them Cora, Voice of Recovery, San Mateo County NAMI, San Mateo Alcove, and more. It starts next Tuesday with a morning session from 10:30 to 12 at the flagpole on our main campus, and then again in the evening from 7 to 8:30, and then another session Wednesday night from 7 to 8:30. We invite you to drop by and visit any of these sessions. We'd love to see you. So this concludes my report from the San Mateo Adult and Career Ed. Again, thank you for the opportunity and for your time and attention.
Thank you very much. Okay, going on to special reports and appearances. The first item is the Sustainability and Waste Management Update. Go ahead, Superintendent Booker.
Thank you so much. So this evening, I want to hand the baton over to Yancy Hawkins. We've been working closely with Dennis Voorhees and a number of students from the County Youth Commission in preparation for this presentation this evening about our sustainability efforts across the district, what we're doing, where we need to improve, and different proposals for the board. Now, with that said, there's no action taken tonight by the board, but as always, the board is welcome to provide direction so that we could come back with updates or action items for you in the future. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Hawkins.
Thank you so much, Superintendent Booker. Tonight, as Superintendent Booker noted, we're going to give an update on some of our sustainability work and waste management. we're very lucky. I think the theme of the night is some amazing students, which I guess is pretty much the theme of all of our board meetings, but especially tonight. And I have 4 students here with the San Mateo County Youth Commission that will be helping us in our presentation tonight. I'm also incredibly thankful, Annalise Etter from the San Mateo County Office of Education Sustainability Department, who's up on Zoom, is here. And she's going to support us on some of the technical matters. So she'll start the presentation and go over some of the more recent waste mandates from the state. And then I will hand it over to our representatives from the San Mateo County Youth Commission, who will introduce themselves in a minute when they start to present. And then unfortunately, you have to finish up with me and Dennis just for a summary of some of the efforts that we're working on and how we're working with the student groups and the San Mateo County Office of Education, who's really been supportive in all of these measures as we go through. I'd also like to thank some of the representatives from our Sustainability Committee who are here today, Dave and Lindsay. I can give who I think might make a public comment in support of some of these things, but I get to work with them a lot. So without further ado, Annalise, I will transition over for you. Hold on.
Great. Thank you, Yancy. If you could advance the slide. Yeah, there we go. So I'm just going to start by explaining a few relevant state mandates around waste management. So AB 341 requires local education agencies to recycle, and AB 1826 requires local education agencies to participate in commercial organics recycling, otherwise known as composting. AB 827 requires proper labeled containers for both recycling and organics recycling. And then the most recent, the most recent, I'm sorry, the slides, can we go back to, back a few more? There we go. Yeah, that one, thank you. And so the most recent mandate is Senate Bill 1383, otherwise known as the Short-Lived Climate Pollutant Reduction Law, which requires local education agencies to educate staff about organic waste prevention and sorting materials properly, as well as providing the correct labeled containers, and also requires inspection of bins for contamination, and if contamination is found, informing the school community about how to then sort properly. And then finally, it requires edible food recovery. Next slide. So this is a little bit more detailed about what Senate Bill 1383 requires. So edible food must be recovered. So all edible food that would otherwise be thrown away must be donated. And to do this, the local education agency must have a formal agreement in place with the food recovery organization, and they must maintain records related to this food donation. And then in regards to organics recycling, school staff and administrators must educate employees and students about organic waste prevention. And as I mentioned earlier, inspect containers for contamination and try to prevent that contamination. Next slide. These state mandates really go well with the San Mateo Union High School District's board policy and regulation for integrated waste management, which requires similar things, including the reduction of consumption of disposal materials, increasing the composting of organic materials, recycling items are recyclable, and a preference for purchasing biodegradable or recyclable items. And then also source separated recyclable and organic materials. So sorting that waste properly, as I mentioned earlier. And then also supporting those same mandates is having the correct bins. So adjacent to every landfill bin, there should be a recyclable and organics bin where required. And they should be clearly labeled and accessible. With that, I'm going to pass it back.
All right. And now we'll transition to the San Mateo County Youth Commission.
All right, good evening, everyone. Hope everybody is doing well and is ready for our amazing presentation. Mr. Booker and District Board of Trustees, it is good to see you. We are the San Mateo County Youth Commission's Environmental Justice Subcommittee. My name is Matthew Lau, and I'm a junior at Aragon, serving as the vice chair of our subcommittee.
My name is Alina Shaw, and I am the chair of the subcommittee and a senior at San Mateo High School.
My name is Zane Abraham, and I'm a senior at Aragon.
My name is Anjali Mishra. I'm the secretary of the subcommittee and a student in San Mateo.
We want to acknowledge that April is Earth Month, so it is particularly important that we turn our attention to environmental issues like we are dealing with today with limiting plastic waste.
Before we begin, I know we have limited time, but I originally planned on wearing like something more formal like this, not like this, like maybe like a suit or something, but like I noticed that like this message that I carry on my shirt carries a more impactful meaning that we need to like take care of the earth. And I just hope that message carries on to you guys. But anyways, to begin, with our overwhelming amount of plastic waste in the district and the urgent need to reduce it, our district needs to take more action to mitigate plastic waste in order to address climate change. To do this, we drafted a proposed regulation that is open to amendments and discussion that we are hoping to get approved. And it was sent to the board in January, and that should be in your email inboxes.
The regulation is an addition and continuation of board policies and regulations already in place, such as what Annalise talked about, which address three main concerns. The first is replacing the plastic foodware with reusable or biodegradable foodware. Second is creating an improved waste sorting system for corresponding bins of waste, compost, and recycling with educational signage. And third is mandating the proper disposal of waste to proper facilities that will be managed by custodial services.
So there are many people that work behind the scenes to ensure that our school campuses are clean, free school lunches are given out, and that our trash is picked up. These three staff pictured above are the backbone of our beautiful schools and deserve to be celebrated and praised. And that's why I interviewed each and one of them and had really great conversations with each one of them about the plastic and waste issue. First is Miss Zumot, who is Aragon's cafeteria manager, and she's one of the sweetest staff people I know at my school. She expressed the need to reduce plastic and the collective effort needed to reduce the litter and correctly sorting the trash. Next is Mr. Louis, who is one of Aragon's custodians, and he's a very humble and simple man. He notices the plastic everywhere and incorrect bin sorting, which he has to sort and clean up, and he hopes that there are better ways to know which bin to put our trash in. The last unseen hero is Miss Valdivia, who is one of Aragon's custodians, and she is extremely dedicated and works endlessly to make sure Aragon's campus is the cleanest it can be. She told me she was very concerned about all the birds swarming the trash on the ground and how students don't know how to sort it. She's concerned about global warming, especially the trash that ends up in the oceans. All in all these staffers support our initiative. And now these are the pictures of the trash of what really goes on at Aragon. And Zane and I can personally tell you that it's almost like a seagull war zone after every single lunch. Yeah. Birds swoop down in flocks and crowding pieces of litter, and all this plastic trash just gathers up and it's there for the birds to eat. And all of this is what the custodians have to clean up every single day.
If you look at the first image to the right, it shows the unnecessary amount of plastic packet condiments that are prepackaged into a school sandwich container, considering that many students just throw away or litter it instead of taking it when they need it. If you look at the second image, it shows the 3 bins. However, there's no signage in the recycling and compost are confusing since there's a recycling logo on the green compost. If you look at the third image, it shows that the 3 bins aren't stationed everywhere on campus, and it poses another issue of people not being able to sort waste.
We are not the only students concerned about plastic waste in the district. In November, we launched an online petition and have since gotten 668 signatures and counting from community members, primarily students in the district.
We also dispersed a survey to gauge the district's opinions and views on plastic and waste. The main takeaways were 82.6% of respondents are very concerned about our plastic problem at schools, and over 67.4% think that the current waste sorting system is not doing a good job. About 3/4 of the respondents think that more than half of the bins are contaminated. A majority of respondents are concerned about the litter. And almost a 100% consensus feels that the district needs to take better action to handle the plastic and waste issue.
Whether people like it or not, the climate crisis is here and alive, and we must take action to stop our contribution to this crisis. We all are high schoolers, and we have so many more years to live. And as the trend of climate change gets worse, so will the outlook of our future. Just like the 3 Ergon staffers that were interviewed, people of color, in addition to low-income communities, are most at risk of being exposed to the chemicals of climate change, of plastics.
These plastics pose serious health risks of being exposed to toxins like bisphenol and phthalates that harm students' neurodevelopment, digestive, and bodily systems. How can a student be exposed to those dangers every day when the district's student nutrition mission is to provide healthy and sustainable meals? Plastic contributes to 1.8 billion tons of global greenhouse gas emissions, according to the OECD, and at our district schools with over 9,000 students use the plastic for 30 minutes, which generates a short-lived amount of plastics, which is also doubled for lunch and brunch. And yet these plastics will stick around the earth for hundreds of years after.
But enough of the statistics that you have constantly heard. It is all talk until we actually take action. We've had the waste reform proposal in 2020, passed a climate declaration of emergency in 2021, and we've had a disposable foodware ordinance in place in San Mateo County during 2022. Now it is 2024, and the research has been done, so action must be taken.
We urge the board to adopt our proposed regulation that is open to amendment and discussion. Frankly, we are hoping for the most sustainable and fiscally feasible solution, even if it's not the most ideal. We just want to begin the process of changing our practices in order to start the journey towards sustainability. The actions we take now will have lower environmental effects and costs than if we wait until the crisis is higher.
We strongly support the reusable utensil initiative at BHS that will be discussed later and hope that you will expand that pilot program to other schools. Even just low-stake alternatives like replacing plastic condiment packets with dispensers creates a big impact to curb plastic waste. In addition, images of the foodware can be put on the trash cans to show students where to place their trash, which is a simple solution with a big impact.
Plastic waste is not only a big issue regarding climate change, but it's also one of the most attainable ways we as students and people can actively change in order to reduce the effects of climate change. Our subcommittee is ready and excited to work with the board to find the most effective solution to tackle plastic waste. We are the future, and we are the ones who will eventually be in those very seats you sit in. We want to live in a world where we can live, breathe, and thrive sustainably. And that starts with the policy we implement in this room. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for listening.
That was great. Thank you so much. All right. As I noted, unfortunately, you get to end with me. But in terms of some of the things that we are doing, and I think that a lot of them hit on some of the things that the students from the commission noted. In 2023, we diverted 119 more tons away from landfill than we had the year before, totaling 440 tons of waste diverted from the landfills in 2023. In addition to the minimize the waste, we also recycled 231 tons of paper, yard waste, yard and food waste in 2023. We also, as noted in a similar picture, implemented tri-bins at Cappuccino, Mills, Burlingame, and Hillsdale in the spring of 2023. The fall, we brought in San Mateo High School, and we're in the process of doing that at Aragon, the last of our comprehensive sites. That's a lot of that work is done by the Sustainability Committee in the district. In terms of edible food recovery initiatives, we have data-driven menu decisions to limit the amount of food waste. We continue to use share tables. We do have federal regulations that require certain things be given as part of every meal in the district, but we try to limit that with share tables. And we are finalizing our agreement with Second Harvest at this time for our food recovery. In terms of some of the projects that we've been working on and discussing with the commission, they noted condiment pumps. We have recently implemented condiment pumps at all of our sites in the cafeterias and the snack bars. We're still looking for ways out on the snack carts that we can look at that. In terms of utensils, we've changed our policy to not give out utensils with every meal, but to distribute them individually as needed. That's just being implemented now. And we've made a change in our plastic and foil packaging with recyclable boats, reducing that by 15%. As this commission noted, we've already started and purchased a pilot program. We're really excited about this at Burlingame High School for 100 students that are given reusable utensils to bring to school every day and back. And we are going to be expanding that as well to Aragon High School for another 100 students. Thank you, Superintendent Booker, for supporting that. And then in terms of the tri-bins, finalizing the implementation of that and potentially looking at our non-comprehensive sites, including Peninsula Bridge and the adult school. For that, we will collaborate with the Sustainability Committee on that work. In terms of looking at a transition to biodegradable utensils or containers, we have started that. There is a large price tag. The estimated cost is anywhere from $350,000 to $500,000 annually. So we'll have to make some decisions in that, knowing that those resources would have to be pulled from somewhere. Also in that area, there are some product availability challenges. The other thing around that is currently our Recology facility does not accept bioplastics. And so we're working with them to try to see what they can do on that. In terms of, we noted our take-home utensils for students. We are starting that pilot program at Burlingame High School, and we just purchased the ones for Aragon. So hopefully we will be rolling that out very soon. And then really getting students involved. This, as the students noted, there's a lot of, folks that are not necessarily putting in the waste in the proper containers. And so the Sustainability Committee has spent a lot of time this year working on waste audit, doing informational videos, using pilot groups, and monitoring the tri-bin use. Although that looks different from campus to campus, as the committees have really focused on different strategies this year, and we're trying to find out which ones have the most success to try to roll that out with the Sustainability Committee next year. In terms of just a couple of highlights of the SMUHSD commitment to sustainability, we support the Sustainability Committee, who you've seen a couple of the folks here. We just rolled out our sustainability dashboard, and that's really to be transparent about our resource consumption around gas, electric, waste, water, and energy emissions. Working with student nutrition. As the board knows, we have tripled the amount of meals under universal feeding. And so that has come with some unintended consequences that we are still working on and continuing to look for student partnerships. Lastly, just in terms of some of the other capital facilities and operational things that the district is, the board approved, and we will be moving forward in the summer and fall on a $13 million solar project in May. So in the next couple of weeks, we're going to welcome 8 large electric buses. That was a $3.2 million investment by the board in the school district, as well as about $3.5 million in the charging infrastructure for the next 10 to 20 years. We've started our white fleet electrification with 2 electric white vans that have been purchased. And then in terms of other energy reduction, we've done lighting projects throughout the district to move to LED. The board recently approved moving forward with the start of looking at the Burlingame High School stadium lights, moving those to LED, which are much more energy efficient. And then one of the most important things about the transite projects that were done at Aragon, Hillsdale, and Mills is that rigid insulation was added to the envelopes of that. The transite had almost no insulation, and so the amount of resources needed to heat and cool those facilities were significantly higher prior to that rigid insulation as part of the transite project. We also added a few resources of what things we're doing. So, and I think we're happy to, Annalise, the Youth Commission, myself, Dennis is here from the Student Nutrition Department, are happy to open it up to some questions.
Thank you. Okay. I'd like to open it up to the board for questions or comments. I'd like to start. Trustee Chavez.
Okay, well.
Okay, Trustee Griffin.
Thank you for the presentation. It was very forceful, very impactful, kind of scary. You know, a couple of comments, and these are mostly comments because, you know, I was just upstairs trying to eat, and there is not a utensil. There is not a plastic fork. There's barely anything up there. The other night, actually, I was looking and I was really hungry and I was about ready to eat with the tongs because I couldn't. Apparently, everybody does bring their own utensils and the drawers are locked up. So I would be really interested in what do these personal utensils, the reusable utensils look like that we're contemplating issuing?
So the ones that we are specifically buying are made of bamboo, but like a hard bamboo, and they're reusable. There's any number of ones, you know, from typical metal to other woods, but the ones that we are using are a bamboo product, but with a long lifespan.
So I mean, like they got a
metal
case and you can put it in your backpack.
Yeah, you get a pouch, you get your utensils, you bring them home, wash them, and bring them back the next day. Hopefully, wash them.
What is just out of curiosity, roughly what's the unit cost when you buy them?
It's a little over $1 a unit. So,
you know, because the thing that doesn't work, and I think just speaking as a committee of one or a board of one, you know, sometimes it's so difficult with the products that are brought out to use them. You want to be environmentally conscious, but then when you go to In-N-Out and you get a paper straw that's, you know, it's useless, you just end up drinking the drink, or you get the fork that doesn't lift the food up. I mean, I hope the designs over the, you know, as we evolve, that designs will become more functional, because I think that will help us all embrace that, because, you know, just, you know, the things break or they're soggy or whatever. And, you know, I hope we're all trying to do something in the name of the environment. Now, I will say, while I was talking about how good the district office at least is with locking up and everybody having their own silverware, our bin system is so confusing. After I'm eating and there's a bin system upstairs and I'm just trying to figure out, well, what goes where, and you have to pull this out because it's contaminated. And I would hope that we get a simpler system, but the other half of that, the people who give us this food are the ones that make it difficult, and they make it difficult to help us recycle properly. It's just tough.
Yeah, a solution that we have to that is actually like plastering the real objects that we get from lunch, because there's only like a certain amount of food items that we get from lunch, or like the utensils and the foodware. So like putting those real objects near where the recycling, compost, and trash are can make a big difference, because that tells where students can put each item in. And then another solution that we came up with is having students or maybe staff stand by the tri-bins to tell students where to put each, in order to like inform them of like, this is how you do it. This is where the bin you put it in, to like make sure that they're informed for the future and know where to put it in the future.
I really think a big part of this is certainly we start making changes, and hopefully we do make some, I do believe that the climate crisis is here, the environmental crisis. We're really up against it, whether we acknowledge it or not. Once we get these products, we got to change mindsets. That people have to really understand proper use and how critical it is, and we have to educate all of us. While we're talking about the problem here in the campuses, it doesn't stop at when we leave the campus. As a matter of fact, it probably gets worse when we leave campuses. But anyway, thank you for your presentation and raising our consciousness.
Thank you. Yes, Trustee Chavez.
Well, I just want to thank you, everybody involved in putting this together, because I know that the trustees here know I've been asking about, when are we going to have this presentation? I've been asking a couple of times in the last 4 or 5 months, because this is exciting. I think this is really important, and I know that everything costs a little bit more. I don't know how we can put a price tag on doing the right thing. I would like to do the whole thing, but I'm just one board member. What I wanted to say was, I still work for the same company, but we used to be headquartered in downtown San Francisco. We would be fined if we did not compost. If there was food in the garbage and it was not in the compost bin, our company would be fined. And so it was really important. And so we had 32 floors, and we had a kitchen on every floor, little kitchen, about the size of it wasn't like the big kitchen upstairs, but it was, every floor had a little kitchen area. But we had signs, we had examples, we had a poster board, so like you'd have scrunched up cellophane wrapper taped to the garbage. I mean, on the poster board above that, you'd have what goes where, and as examples. And it took us a little while, and after a little while, everybody knew exactly where things go. So those plastic forks that we have in some of the lunches, in some of the school lunches, that those, and the wrapper, the plastic wrapper on the outside of the single serving spoons and forks, we know that would go in the trash. But if you have compostable cups, compostable nowadays, a lot of utensils, I guess that's the right word to say, it's actually made, it's not as strong as the bamboo that you're saying, Yancy, that can be used for multi-use, but it's single use. And I know those cost more, but I appreciate it when I go to a restaurant and they give instead of the spoon or fork being plastic, non-compostable. I do appreciate the fact, I know I'm paying for it as a customer, so they're passing that on to me, and I don't mind paying a little bit more, but having that wooden bamboo sort of a fork or spoon. Now, how many times have you guys gotten food to go and it's in a compostable container, a box, whatnot, and I'm driving maybe 15 minutes, 10 minutes to get home. When I pick up the box, it's already soggy on the bottom because it's hot food and there's some sauce on it, right? But again, I feel like the price of that far outweighs, with the price of that soggy box, I don't mind I'm saying this backwards, but hopefully you guys know what I'm saying. Just not having those styrofoam containers and those non-compostable plastics, around, I could put up with that. Or to your point, Trustee Griffin, when you have a straw that you use for 10, 15 minutes and it's already starting to decompose, hey, that's okay, because this is one less straw that's going to end up there in the ocean, where birds and other animals are really dying from that, right? So I have a couple of questions, other than Well, first of all, I want to say thank you again for everybody putting this together. I wanted to say that thank you for all the visual pictures that the students put together, because we have to ask ourselves, why are we putting condiment packets into every lunch when we know not everybody's using the mayonnaise packets, the ketchup packets? So I'm glad that either have them as an option, have students take what they need at the time, but of course it's better to have the large jar of condiment with pumps, you know. And I did want to say that the share tables for food for items for sharing, such as fruit, I think that's a great idea, and hopefully we're doing that. I know I used to volunteer a lot at my daughter's elementary school, and we had as young as kindergarten, first graders taking their food and putting the scraps in the compost bin. And then if they didn't want their apple, they'd put it on this area where a kid who wants a second apple can go up and get it. I know that was pre-COVID, okay, and during COVID, of course, there's more regulations around sharing a piece of fruit that somebody had touched, but the banana is a good example because you have that outside part. And I was wondering if we can expand the reusable utensils to all school sites, and then just first of all, ask the students that are interested, whether there's 100 students in that school site or whether there's 300 students that are interested in the school site, or whether there's 1,000, whatever. I know it's going to cost a lot. You already said it's $1 per, around $1 roughly for each.
Yeah,
item.
and that's each individual item. I
Yeah.
should have been very clear. So the packet is more than that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought the packet was $1. Okay, so it might be $2 or $3. Okay. All right. Well, I still think it would be good if we offer it to all school sites and offer it to students, anyone who's interested. I know it's good that we're doing a pilot of 100 students. I wanted to mention on page 7 of our handout here, I don't know what slide number that is, slide 12. It's great that we diverted 110 more tons away from the landfill than we did in the prior year, totaling 440 tons of waste diverted from the landfill. And in addition to that, minimizing the waste, we recycled 231 tons of paper. I think that that's great that we're moving in the right direction. So I think that's awesome. What we don't know is what was the total waste, because that's not listed here. So it is great we're moving in the right direction, but do we know if this is 10% that we're diverting? Is it 15%? That was one of my questions.
So Trustee Chavez, we will get you that information, but also a lot of that is available
Okay.
on our sustainability dashboard.
Oh, great.
And that
Okay,
has
I'll look
a
that
lot
up.
of the information.
Okay, great.
Now, I want to be clear, that is for the 22-23
Yes.
school year.
Okay.
So it wouldn't have the information for the last
For-
6 months of
Right.
2023.
Okay.
But it would give you a pretty good feel.
Okay.
And it's not enough. I'll tell you right away.
Yeah. No, I just want to reiterate that we're moving in the right direction. So thank you for that. And thank you to all the students involved and your passion. I looked at my emails just to glance and I read every single email that I receive. And the last, I just not Googled it. I just looked up right now to see how many I received, about 4 emails in the past 6 months about this very item from students. So I want to thank every student that's reached out about this. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Yeah, thank you very much for this. It's very important. Like Trustee Griffin said, it's here and it's affecting many people, and it affects so many people around the world. And it, like with immigration and just sustainability and poverty, it really affects a lot of communities. One of the ideas that I had with I carry around my own like fork and spoon and straw set for me, because I use straws all the time. And so have you tested the different ones? Like Trustee Griffin was saying that some of them are better than the others. And I agree with that. Do you have testers? Like, have you all seen which ones are better than others to suggest, and maybe talk about price point at that point too?
Yeah, we've started to look at that in terms of what product. There are some, especially over the last couple of years, there's been supply chain issues, especially with these that have become more and more popular. And so those are starting to slow on a lot of these items. But we've started looking at those, at the different options available, and the student nutrition department, as they implement, they're only going to implement the ones that they believe will work, kind of to Trustee Griffin's point, if they don't believe it's going to work, they're
Right.
gonna go for the ones that
Mhm.
they think are going to work
Mhm.
first. But I know that the student nutrition department every year goes to the California and I don't know the exact name of it, but it's the conference for the food service, and they meet with vendors all the time in terms of what are the new products in this market, what works, what doesn't work. So we're getting more information all the time.
Yeah, I wonder if there's anything that's targeted towards school districts and schools, or if there's like a company you can kind of lobby to say, hey, if we do buy something in bulk, for our schools, would you, consider doing like a specific type of marketing to schools and lowering the price point? Maybe even at the beginning of the year, recommend to families to send their kids to school with these reusable types of utensils, and maybe the students that already have it don't need something from the school, so it might save us a little bit of money. And maybe recommend some stuff, like these we found are better than others, just to alleviate some of that maybe.
Yeah.
Thank you. And also with the restaurants, I mean, there are restaurants that are still using styrofoam and things like that. I don't know, maybe just talking about San Mateo City, maybe even talking with Chamber of Commerce or with the city to see if they could, and it would be great coming from the youth, to maybe incentivize restaurants that, not to use styrofoam and more sustainable products. That might be helpful.
That's what I
In our
thought.
county, they did in our county.
Which one?
San Francisco, I'm sorry about that. I think it's San Francisco County and which is the city of San Francisco and also San Mateo County. I think styrofoam is banned. So when I see it, I'm not anywhere near our county, and I'm just surprised that folks are still using styrofoam plates. But
Yeah, no, there are some that are still using styrofoam. I know, and it's terrible because it's not degradable at all. And then education on what plastic is and is not recyclable, because not all plastic is created equal, right? And so there was this really good report that I was watching on how much plastic really even gets recycled. So that would be really important for people to know, because sometimes we think that everything plastic is recyclable, and that's false. Also, how to properly recycle, because yeah, like some things need to be washed or need to be scraped off. Some things are okay to have food. What is compostable, what is not? Like I didn't know at first when compost first came out that it could be a napkin with food on it, but I didn't know that. I thought that was garbage. And so, it's like things that we may not automatically know. Sending the information out like with links or something to families for them to really understand, because it is very confusing. Yeah, and I think, let's see, yeah, that's all I had. So thank you so much for your presentation. Okay, now we can go on to, are there any other questions you have?
Yeah, I just have I hate to get to the end of a impactful presentation and walk away from it. So the things that I'm concerned about, I'd look to the administration to prioritize based on this and get us some information on what we can do and what the costs are and what the next steps are.
Thank you.
And the other thing, and I cringe at asking this myself because I think our agendas are really full. We get reports on a lot of things like our interim financial reports and our academic progress. And I'd either like, and we only have 3 of us here, so we don't have a full board. So I don't know that it's fair to try to have a discussion on it. That it would either be nice to get a report that's presented so the public can see and hear this during a board meeting, or at least have a report to the public on the district stewardship over its sustainability.
That's a good idea.
I mean, but once again, I'm operating as a committee of one and trying to think up things that we can do. And I think that, because a lot of times people have, oh, okay, we got a great meeting and we all feel good and we all agree there's a crisis, and then it goes back on the shelf and nothing happens unless we have, we know it's coming again and we know that it's continually out there. So I would, that's one of my thoughts on it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, thank you, Trustee Griffin. Well, the students were expressing that they hope that we adopt some of this and take some of the recommendations. I think it's looking at the recommendations because I do think, Mr. Hawkins, we're going the right direction. I just would like to see more, especially offering every student who is interested in having the utensils that can, the reusable utensils. But I would also like to see if I can entertain, if the board allows it, we can ask our student reps here at the board dais what their thoughts are on this. I'm sure they have a lot or a little bit to say.
Yeah, overall, I really empathize with the feeling the students are describing to us. It is observed a lot of times in our campus that there is a lot of waste, a lot of, as they described, as seagull wars and just in the school. Yeah, it is not pleasing for the students nor for the environment in general. But I also do understand the point of view of the district trying to save a little bit of money. It's a hard debate to come to conclusion. But yeah, I believe there will be a solution where both points can meet. And that idea of just figuring who has the resources to already come up with their own utensils and who doesn't will really make a difference in budgeting.
Yeah, so I think what Frida said are like my opinions too. And like I see it like from my high school, like there's environmental club and there's like so like there's some awareness that's going on throughout the high school, but I'm sure like we can do more like presentation about it to like spread awarenesses and like just like each small actions can also make a greater impact. So like the 3 recycling bin and like compost bins and like that, I think like spreading awareness for that is like really important.
No, thank you for thanks
Yeah,
to both of you
thank
for
you.
sharing that. And just like Trustee President Andrade Zanika mentioned, I had those same questions years ago. Do the napkins are you sure we can take a whole pizza box and put it in the compost? And you can. So it took a long time where I worked just seeing the poster boards that someone took the time to make and then put examples of here's what you can compost. They didn't put old food, but they kind of drew it. But also here's the items that you can recycle, so they put examples. And then the little tiny coffee mates, the little tiny, I don't drink coffee, but I know those little coffee mates, that was garbage. So that was frowned upon to use those, but instead get containers that you can recycle, larger containers. So we made a lot of changes at work. And I think that having, whether it's an assembly or whether it's students talking about this in their classrooms, educating parents, I think we're on the right track. We're on the right track. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, I have some comments here from the public. Okay, Mr. Emmanuel, if you could give your comment, please.
Good evening.
What don't you do?
So my name's David Manuel. I'm a social studies teacher at Hillsdale, long time. I'm also the sustainability facilitator at the school site. I'm also the chair of the sustainability committee. And I must admit, looking at those pictures that you guys had, great presentation, some of those pictures of the bins. I've done my share of dumpster diving. I've done kind of moving food from the landfill back into the compost bin, but so first of all, I want to just commend the students for all their work, for their persistence, their leadership, their initiative. This is something that Matt and company have been working with the Sustainability Committee over several months, and I just want to commend them for their hard work and the willingness to, I think as a sustainability person, it's great to see this particular moving towards sustainable foodware, because this is a big challenge for us, right? And Annalise mentioned this SB 1383 requiring we focus really on composting. Moving away from recycling is important, but really what we know about the impacts of methane on climate change, composting has to be our #1 priority. And we're moving slowly in that direction. I think there's ways we can accelerate that. I know that at each of the sustainability sites with the facilitators, we are taking specific actions, things like creating videos. Green teams or environmental clubs are creating videos. At Hillsdale, we sort of do a monthly one. We also do something about, we call it sorting coaching, where we have our little green t-shirts on, we're out the bins, we have students from the club come out, and we try to put the seniors over at the freshmen and hey guys, let's make sure you're doing this right. So that's another technique. We also are with the sustainability committee. We have these monthly bin inventories. We're trying to make sure that our sustainability facilitators are checking out where are the bins, are they clustered, are they labeled, and we are proposing kind of a summit, if you will, with the with our FMs, our facilities managers, our site facilitators, and admin, and we'd love to get some more student feedback. So Matt, I'm glad to hear it, Junior, because we're recruiting you. Okay. So that's something I think we'd like to see take place in the spring or the summer, really how can we move this forward, these strategies. Annalise has been a wonderful ally for us and is super knowledgeable, helpful. She's been at a number of sites doing waste audits, and we're looking at maybe modeling. She's going to be coming out of Hillsdale in May and looking at more of a student-driven kind of audit where we work with the APE students, AP environmental students, and we, during a block period, we dump out some of the bins and we take a look, sort them, and we weigh it, and we look at really, how well are we doing? Because I think Superintendent Booker, at the opening meeting of the Sustainability Committee this year, you talked about metrics, and I think that's developing metrics. I think that's what we need to do as a district moving. We're making some progress. One of those things is, as we said, are the bins clustered? Are they labeled? And then how do we know? We can look at this diversion rate. Would encourage the board to look at this dashboard that Mr. Hawkins mentioned, and perhaps we have a session in the fall where we dig into that data. Recently, we looked at something like, we have a diversion rate of something like 75% compost. No, I'm sorry, 25%, my bad, of composting and recycling, and the state requirement something like 75%. So we've got a ways to go here, and I think students, you guys have sort of pushed us in that direction. That's the direction we need to go. So I think there's some number of things that we're slowly turning the ship as we see renewables happening as well. We need to accelerate that, and we have some kind of active plans to do that. I will say that it's heartening to see young people really stepping up, and we're seeing this across the district. A number of students the last week and this week are working on Earth Week, Earth Day activities. I know that at Hillsdale and the other sites, that's really important. I remind the board that the climate emergency was passed in 2021, initiated by students. I think that was also really impressive to see that. There's also a group of about 10 students from Hillsdale who are going Monday to Sacramento to lobby. This is where the environmental group lobby on a climate bill. So we're kind of excited to lead that charge. But again, one of our goals, the Sustainability Committee, is to recruit more students. So we would love to integrate your work with the Sustainability Committee. We meet monthly on a Thursday, usually 4 o'clock, but we can be flexible with our time. So I think that's where we would like to see more student involvement. And we would like to get back to the board in the fall, early in the fall, kind of sharing you where we are, what progress we're making, and where we need to go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, if there's anything you could share with us too, and send it to the board. I mean, that I would be interested to know, as I'm sure my colleagues as well. Thank you. Excellent. All right. Is there any more discussion on this item? Thank you, Annalise, online. And thank you, students, for your presentation. Sorry?
And Mr. Reese is online too. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on to the next. Okay. Thank you very much for the presentation. I'm going on to the equity update. Superintendent Booker.
Yeah, I'm gonna pass the presentation over to Dr. Black. He and I and a number of others have been working really hard on this topic. A lot of conversations with district staff, principals, other educators across the district. And I guess the thing that I want to highlight is early on, when I was brought in as superintendent, the board was extremely vocal and explicit in their instructions around when there are issues in the district, when we're having concerns, problems, areas where we need to improve, that they directed me to not sugarcoat them, to bring them to the public, bring them to the board so that we can acknowledge where we need to grow, where our problems exist, so that we can learn and grow. This is an example of that, this presentation by itself. We are going to be talking about some ugly and disheartening behaviors. They're not solely limited to San Mateo Union High School District whatsoever. So this is a conversation about how we can improve as a community, as a culture, and support one another. But in order to do that, we first need to call out where we're struggling. And this presentation does that. And I don't think it pulls many punches. So I appreciate the efforts that have gone in. I've really appreciated the conversations that we've had with DTA leadership and members of their union on this particular issue. So with that, I want to hand it off to Dr. Black.
Thank you, Superintendent Booker. As Superintendent said, this presentation tonight is a continuation of our efforts to share how the district is working towards building a culture of mutual respect and civility, where students develop a mindfulness for the words they use. I'll be joined tonight by Cappuccino Principal Jose Gomez, Aragon Principal Val Arizu, and the Manager of Mental Health Programs, April Torres. The district has many policies and regulations to support these efforts. The ones highlighted on this slide are our board-approved racial equity regulation from 2022. It requires a culture of inclusion with dedicated support that is specified in our goals related to BIPOC students, staff, and families who are often the victim of dehumanizing language. The use of dehumanizing language and students not feeling a sense of belonging on our campuses are evident from multiple sources. In late March, we shared with the board the Panorama survey data. In October, we shared the DEIA audit feedback. And throughout the year, we have received troubling complaints from victims of pejorative terms and insults. All of these, coupled with the experiences and observations of district staff, combine to impress upon us how urgent and serious the need is to improve our culture of mutual respect and cultural responsiveness. Also in 2022, Student Services led the effort that created a policy bulletin regarding the expectations when we respond to hate speech incidents. This policy bulletin has recently been updated, but the first step remains the same, and that is to intervene and disrupt dehumanizing language immediately upon hearing it. Simultaneously, protecting and supporting the victim must happen. Then we follow the rest of the steps outlined on this slide as appropriate. Student Services has provided training and a review of these expectations to our site leaders, deans, and campus supervisors, and principals have done so to their staffs. The next 6 slides will provide some examples of the district's efforts towards combating racism and bias with the overarching goal of building an inclusive and welcoming culture. Our efforts are guided by district and board goals. Equity-minded objectives are highlighted throughout all of our guiding documents, such as the LCAP, the board's annual goals, school site plans, WASC plans, and there are others. And these are presented to the board yearly or as they come up in the case of WASC. Funding creative ideas and effective programs has been a hallmark of the district, and these go a long way to supporting marginalized students who, again, are often the victims of dehumanizing language. Some examples are listed here. Most of these types of efforts have started small and have kept growing to include more and more students because of their success. The board has approved funding and professional development plans intended to provide anti-racist education and training to employees. The district has an extensive history of this type of training and has increasingly focused on this over the past few years for all of our staff at all levels, including board trustees. The district also has a long list of affinity groups in the district at all of our campuses, both for families and for students. There are too many to list on one slide, but all of these groups provide their participants with meaningful support, community building, and bonding opportunities with colleagues. Tuesday night's DLAC presentation is one example of how effective an affinity group can be. In late March, the board had the opportunity to hear from our student equity councils regarding dehumanizing language. The student voices at that meeting were powerful and were a result of students meeting together with an eye towards solving vexing problems that exist on our campuses. Each campus has a student equity council. The district understands that we can't discipline ourselves out of acts of discrimination and dehumanizing language. We apply both our classroom instruction and our restorative processes towards student learning of how negative, hurtful, and demeaning racism is and is the effects of dehumanizing speech. Towards this point, the district developed a new instructional framework that will be presented to the board next month and has humanizing pedagogy as its overarching tenet. One tool that is available to students if they are victims of this type of thing and to staff and families is the anonymous alert system. This system is an app that provides a means to report any number of things, including dehumanizing language, intimidation, and bullying. Addressing the victims of dehumanizing language is paramount when responding to these acts. Support takes many forms, such as those listed on this slide. The board has approved funding for mental health therapists that are now established throughout the district in high numbers. We frequently employ restorative practices on our campus with the intent to repair harm and solidify relationships. And the district has tried several off-site programs, and the board has continually approved them, such as Care Solace, that are available to students, staff, and families off campus and outside of school hours. So although much has been done and progress has been achieved, there is obviously so much more that needs to be accomplished. One of the goals of this presentation is to publicly make commitments that the district will do immediately. So the first one here is to ensure that our site staffs are trained and adept at responding to dehumanizing language in line with our policy bulletin. That includes both restorative practices and accountability for offenders. Before we get to the rest of our commitments, we did want to share with some things that are happening at two of our sites and in student services. First up will be Jose Gomez, the principal of Cappuccino High School.
Good evening, members of the board and cabinet. So at Cappuccino, in my first year as a principal, we unfortunately had to deal with some incidences regarding dehumanizing language on our campus. So in collaboration with the district, we hired a consultant, Ken Shelton, to provide us with some guidance and some expertise, who had us meet for 4 days with 8 staff members, students, support staff, admin, and our dean to kind of really land in 2 areas, 2 goals. First goal was to assess the reason for the volume of hate speech incidences that were happening on campus and what affects most and what can be done to address it going forward in a sustainable manner, not just react once and then forget about it. We need to have something built in and think about it long term. And the other goal was to establish and ensure that supports for students, staff, and administration to ensure campus is safe and and a healthy environment for all. I want to say that we did have the students were part, some of them were part of the school site equity council. So that was great to have them there. And they proposed a great idea, which I'll highlight a little bit later. The last day we met with Ken Shelton was in the fall of this semester, and then we came up with a full report that was provided to the district with regards to recommendations. These 3 recommendations were some of the ones that were needing attention that we're going to be planning to address in the coming year. Is the first one is a day of learning around hate speech. There was a need to continue to educate our students and also staff on this. And we were thinking about hosting a whole day event, which I'll explain a little bit later. The second recommendation was to create a protocol to respond to hate speech, bullying, and sexual harassment that is specific to our site. And that is something that is within our professional development plan for the coming year to kind of anchor down and really start getting into it with staff and really educating and training them to denounce and disrupt that right away, and how administration will address it and also support the students throughout the process with whatever supports we have, Tier 1, RJ, School Site Equity Council. And then the last one is to continue to work with, if you could go back, continue to work with our student groups to promote inclusivity, welcoming environments, and empathy among students and staff. And the first recommendation, if you can move forward now, Kurt, was to plan a whole day around addressing hate speech, a day of learning. And we threw around this idea in our Tier 1 meetings with the school equity council, student equity council, sorry, and Tier 1. And we were trying to figure out how can we plan this event in such a short time period with bringing some outside experts. And we were grappling with this idea for a number of meetings. And then the School Equity Council came back and said, how about this? Why don't we focus on our theme for the year is building community and connection. So they decided, hey, they proposed, why don't we do Workshop Wednesday? So Workshop Wednesday was a great idea where students proposed staff and students could run or host a workshop that was a low-hanging fruit for them. Something that you're passionate about and doesn't take long for you to plan. That way there's no prep time, there's no planning ahead. That it could be music or something to that effect. Staff bought into this. So some of the examples for the workshop that happened this past Wednesday during homeroom was from making lumpias to making tortillas to making empanadas to having yoga, arts and crafts, walking, yoga, sports events, basketball, rugby. So it was a plethora of menu options that students had. And so far data, just talking to students that really enjoyed it, they want to continue to do that. But the main goal of this is to build community connection with adults, and then also start planning for a day of learning regarding hate speech, and hopefully bring somebody from outside to do a whole day event with students and then staff as well. And then we'll also try to engage with Ken Shelton to continue that support.
Thank you, Mr. Vilmas. Next up is Principal Arvizu from Aragon.
Good evening, everyone. And thank you for inviting me to share the collective work of the staff and our students at Aragon High School as we counter dehumanizing language together. The work that I'll share this evening is just the start of this journey. We know that there's a long way to go, but we're looking to start chipping away at, as Mr. Gomez noted, some of those low-hanging fruits, things that we can attack immediately. So our work began in earnest this last fall as our students and our staff noted an increase in dehumanizing language use on campus. We do call it dehumanizing language at Aragon because when you work with a student and call it hate speech, often the first thing they'll tell you is, well, I don't hate this person. They're my friend. I was just joking with them. And so switching that language around just a little bit to say, but is this something that is humanizing them or is this dehumanizing them, is something that really gets to the root of, what was the intent of that comment and how could it make somebody feel? So we did note an uptick of the use of dehumanizing language across campus, and our Student Equity Council was really interested in doing a survey of students and staff across the board. And they put together a survey, and we had over 1,100 student responses. And we're very thankful that some of our teachers in our English department made that available for all students. So they use class time to get feedback. So we felt like we had a really good response. We shared that information with teachers in January. And at that point, we decided to completely shift our professional development for the rest of the year away from, away from UDL and making sure that we were addressing dehumanizing language across campus. And our goal was to identify approaches and agreements in the spring semester that we're in now and to prepare for full implementation in August. So full PD day for our teachers. So the progress is on the next slide, please. We formed an ad hoc committee on language and culture, and that has been led by our PD TOSA, Jason Astasi, and our MTSS TOSA, Steve Henderson, along with administration, particularly Assistant Principal Andrew Hardig, with a number of students from our Student Equity Council, leadership. Our activities director is on there, teachers are there, counselors are there, and additional staff are there. And the whole idea is that our ad hoc committee meets at least once a month. And when I say we meet once a month, we're meeting at 7:30, 7:45 with coffee and donuts to get everybody going. But it's time that it's not taking kids out of their school day, and it's allowing as many people as possible to meet. So we'll make plans. It comes back to staff meetings. All of our staff participate in different steps along the way. It comes back to ad hoc and so on. So it's been incredibly collaborative. And the model that Mr. Astasi, Mr. Henderson, and Mr. Hardig have used has been fantastic. Progress that we have already included or drafted and implemented so far. We have identified response frames to interrupt the use of dehumanizing language immediately. We did take time to train our entire staff, so our teachers took a look at this this frame. And by the way, board members, those links are active, so you can take a look at what we have done. We trained all of our staff on how to use those frames within their comfort level. So we know, dehumanizing language can sometimes be used to different protected classes. And if you're a staff member who also happens to be a member of one of those protected classes, it can be really traumatic to try to interrupt and have a conversation with a student in that moment. So we went through, how do you do it if you feel comfortable, and what do you do if you are not feeling comfortable? And that's what led us to the second bullet here. We felt like we needed to take a look at our referral system and ensure that anybody could make a referral for a student who needed some interruption. So if any staff member felt like, there were some issues that a student needed to have addressed, they could submit a referral. Previously, it was only teachers could submit referrals for students who were on their rosters. We've created a K-12 form that any staff member can use for any student that they may see or hear, including like folks in our nutrition department. So if something's happening in line and they need help there. And really the idea there is not a gotcha for the kids, but to have a meaningful conversation where it's like, did you know what you said? Do you know what harm it may have caused and who may have heard it? And then the next part of it was like, what do you do when you have these students in your office for an assistant principal or for a dean or myself? And so we did go back and adjust our tiered behavioral responses to support student accountability and community restoration. So again, that's an active link. And what we did is created some restorative and reflective practices for kind of the one-off, maybe you shouldn't have used that word. Is there a different way you could have, expressed yourself in that moment? To a Saturday workshop where we invite students who have demonstrated a history of struggling with use of dehumanizing language and working them through some videos and reflective exercises with, our dean has been working through this and one of our assistant principals as well. So it's a much more intensive and thoughtful process. So we've made some progress. Those are things that have already been implemented, but we are still continuing our work to have a full program that we're ready to roll out in August at our professional development day. And our staff and students have formed subcommittees in each of these areas. So we are working forward on, how do we empower our students to take on this work? We are working on campus campaigns, including, stickers, buttons, things that are really easy to make a commitment and wear and show, along with in-class lessons and messaging. And some of that work is being led by our own Carlo Cordy and Jerica Keene. There's some fantastic work that's going on there. Our classified staff are not always able to join us at our staff meetings, so we do have a classified outreach subcommittee that's working with our classified staff who are there like early in the morning, later in the evening, so that everyone is completely involved in this. Community engagement is looking at, how do we express all of the work that we're doing and bring everybody on board for folks who aren't always on our campus, and what does that look like? And then finally, we're working through our tier 1 and tier 2 common assurances and policies, and really those tier 2 interventions where we interrupt and educate, so that our students don't feel like they have been shamed into compliance. We want them to learn and understand and come to a place of, understanding, empathy, and love with all the people on their campus. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Excellent. Thank you, Ms. Avizu. And those were just 2 of our sites. If we could have had any site up here sharing what their efforts are. But now we'll move to the district level and take a look at student services and mental health and wellness. Our manager of mental health programs, April Torres, will present a new alternative to suspension program for students who use dehumanizing language, as well as review a brief history of all of our efforts in student services and mental health.
Thank you. Okay, no, you can go back one.
Sorry.
Thanks. Okay, thank you for having me. I want to talk a little bit before we talk about our newest addition to alternative to suspensions. I want to give a little background on some of our efforts that we've done in the past. So all of our alternative to suspension programs, they are centered around relational approaches. They are us working with the students to build community at their campuses. And also we want to we want to work with the behavior. So we encompass all of that together when we're looking at building out the dehumanizing piece. Everything is about relations. Everything is about building capacity for the students and for addressing behaviors. So Educational Code 48900.5 gives us the opportunity to really support our students at their sites. So in their communities, oftentimes that's their safe space before, or maybe not at all, that they have to come to the district office for alternative to suspension. So we really appreciate the efforts. And I know these were, Jose and Val gave two great speeches about all the things they're doing. Hillsdale does their ETAs. Bridge has community circles daily. Our therapeutic elective classes have daily student support circles. So lots of ways that in their own community, feeling safe and having the opportunity to have a different alternative before coming to ATS. All right, so this is a little history. When we started off with ATS, alternative to suspension, we worked closely student services and mental health, and we had one catch-all. So we kind of covered just about everything you can think of, whatever the students were coming in with, whatever they were sharing with us. And we really took a preventative approach instead of a punitive approach. So this was really the beginning of talking about what led you here, what brought you here, what are some ideas of doing differently. They had their peers with them. We had the peers interact. So that was our first catch-all. That was pulling the student out of class for the entire day. So that they were out for about 7 hours. Then when we received the TUPE Tobacco Use Prevention Education Grant, we were able to build out a substance use program 4 weeks long. We did include the parents at one of the meetings. And we realized this year that parents wanted their own time and space to really learn. So we now have a parent night. It's a 4-week group for parents. It's a lot of psychoeducation about substance use, about vaping, and community building with the families. So they've really appreciated that. So we've turned that into families having their own support. Now, a student doesn't have to go through the program for the parent to come to the program. So if a parent is struggling, they're talking to an assistant principal, a principal at the school site, they're working with the wellness or school counselor, and they're just like, I need some help. Maybe we're in SARB meetings. We have this program. Hey, you know what? We have this program. There's some psycho ed, and there's a lot of community that is there to support you and lift you up. So that's something new. And then 2020, we had our lovely pandemic, and we saw an uptick in cyberbullying, of course, and cyber bombing in classrooms. And so we knew that that was our next step in supporting students. And we were able to build that out. It was really well accepted by our students. We learned a lot from them as well. So it's not just us learning from our students, our students learning from us, but we also learn from our students. And so during this time, we also built out a Parent Connect group. And we really wanted to support parents and not lose any of the content that we were sharing. So we had 2 groups. We had an English speaking group and we had a Spanish speaking group. We ended up growing our Spanish speaking group to 2 groups. So we'd have 2 groups a week. And those 2 groups, that's been going on for 2 years now, have asked to extend. They said, we really wish we had this when our kids were younger. Is there any way? We still have a lot of questions. We want to learn a lot more about how we can support our students, how we can do things differently. So we've added a second part to that. So if the families complete the first part and they want to continue, they have that option for another 4 weeks. I think I got it all on that one. And then just one last thing on that. So right now, through our ATS programs, we have had 462 referrals. Last year at this time, it was 328. So we have 129 more than we did last year. And Bob, I remember last year you said, is anybody happy? What's going on here? And I thought of you when I see that we're up. And really, it's looking at it from an opportunity lens. So we're able to have the opportunity to have these conversations with our students and let them really lead the charge. Brings us to our latest ATS, Dehumanizing Language and Instruction. We developed and implemented this program. We actually implemented it last week at the school sites. So last week was our first week. We had 2 students, and funny enough, tonight was our first group. So I was able to go up there for a bit with Amelia Nash, who's facilitating that group. And they did a lot of work around what brought them there, what their intent was. We did a lot of capacity building, a lot of empathy building, and that really led into what the impact was for their community. And so when you have that empathy piece, you start going, wait a minute, what am I doing here with my community, building that agency so they know it's theirs. So it went really well. And so we'll keep you posted on more. And then lastly, I think I have one more slide. Okay, so restorative justice and practices. So our mental health and wellness team has had a lot of trainings and a lot of practice, and so has our school counselors. So that's great. But if this is a tier 1 support across the district, we want everybody to have that training. So we received a grant through Community Matters, and we wanted to share that fun. We wanted everybody to know about RJP. So our administrative teams have all been trained. Our mental health therapists have also been trained again. We're all being trained on the same material. We're all getting the same information, but we're also able to say what we need from other parties, and they're working our trainings around that. And then school counselors will get their training in a few weeks, and then we'll move on to the teachers and the IAs and the family engagement coordinators. So this is really a district-wide initiative to support our students in a different way, and just giving them a preventative look on and a different look on their choices.
Thank you, Ms. Torres.
Yep. Thanks
very much. Okay, the next 5 or 6 slides will be more commitments from the district. And as you heard, we commit to training our staff on restorative learning and reflection. Just last week, we trained all of our mental health therapists and a few of our school counselors, and this training will continue. Previous training has included all site administrators and many teachers and staff. Although accountability for the use of dehumanizing language is non-negotiable, this effort can't come at the cost of responding to the needs of victims. We do not want the 2 efforts to compete with one another, but instead be 2 parts of a process that are never neglected. Support for victims includes timely communication and the social-emotional assistance that is desired. Victims of dehumanizing language shouldn't have to wonder if anything is being done. The district commits to quickly and regularly communicating to victims as to the progress of the investigation and its status, and of course, abiding by confidentiality and laws when doing so. There is no good side to experiencing dehumanizing language. These types of incidents are intolerable and can cause great pain, embarrassment, and isolation. We care for our employees and students and are invested in making sure they are supported if they are the victims of this type of speech or any racist acts. We know that these types of things do occur, and when they do, the district commits to analyzing the entirety of each instance to assess their origin and review our responses to both the actors and the receivers. We want to improve our responses each time and use what we learn to prevent these acts in the future and improve our culture. The responsibility for adhering to district commitments, to these commitments provided tonight, will be the expectation for all district leaders, and more importantly, of all district staff, students, and families. Through the district's commitments and educational efforts, we hope to eradicate dehumanizing language on all of our campuses. We understand that this issue of dehumanizing language is continuing, and the district is dedicated to doing all it can to stop it. We hope that the commitment stated tonight will lead to appreciable success. The district is completely invested in ceasing dehumanizing speech in all of its forms. The district is also very open to input and would appreciate any board comments.
Thank you very much. Okay, I will now open it up to the board for comments and questions. Does anybody have any comments, questions?
Well, you gave us quite a lot of information
Yeah.
to go over. How many people are online?
Five.
You know, it's kind of, I know we tried to publicize that this topic was going to be discussed. And I guess we're up against the NBA and Major League Baseball and whatever. And I'm kind of, you know, we're doing a lot of good work here. And it's really, you know, and I'm sure people complain every day that the district isn't doing anything,
Right.
you know, and we got to find a way to get the message out.
Could we do a study session or something? Instead, like something more concentrated, so it's more people can join on.
You think more people would show up?
I think so, if it was just specifically.
I think most importantly right now, I think there are two steps. One, to help the board understand what we're facing and what we're looking to do. I think secondly, a follow-up from Dr. Black and myself and maybe others from district leadership is drafting a communication out to all of our educators, because not all of our educators are watching tonight or knowing that this topic is something we're discussing, but to share with them our commitments, share with them this presentation, and share with them some of our thoughts around the work we're continuing to embark upon, and really in asking for their help and asking them to join in our commitment and our joint accountability around working with our students and educating our students. I think those two steps I would recommend should happen first. One, what we're doing tonight, and then two, pushing this out in a much more concentrated, explicit, and direct way to all of our educators. I think that's going to get some discussion going and some questioning going in amongst all of our community.
You know, one of the things that I think I shared this with the superintendent. I said, well, this is a great opportunity for people to come and say, we're all talking, no action, and to raise all kind of sand and everything, and not a pasta. It's like nothing happened here. You know, I think this, you know, we're doing a lot of the right things. I don't know that we're doing everything. I don't know that we could possibly afford to do everything. But, you know, a lot of this, I think, just has to do with dollars invested aren't going to change people's attitudes. You know, it's going to take time. It may not change. There's some people it may not, in fact, change. So I do commend the administration for bringing this information forward, and that you just continue to redouble these efforts, and that we somehow get people to pay attention. And and I was thinking there got to be critics out there who will take this opportunity to hold us accountable, and going back to the original, the equity, the DEI initiatives, and take, hold us, look, come on, you're not doing enough. But it's I don't know if it's apathy or if it's burnout or whatever. It is a comprehensive presentation. I appreciate what the campuses are doing, and hopefully we'll get it out there. We'll get the message out and start to hear from others. So
Yeah, it's not easy. Yeah.
And I didn't get a chance, but I will take those links, because I was really curious about the response frames and how, how those worked. Because when I'm reading something, I'm reading it on paper, chances are, and my links don't work on paper. So thank you for the presentation.
Thank you. Trustee Chavez?
Thank you. Oops, sorry. I do want to thank all of our presenters tonight. Principal Gomez, Principal Arabuzu, I don't want to mess that up. Arbizu, see, it's late, it's tight, and of course, Ms. Torres. So thank you all for your presentation. It's very, very, very informative, just like Trustee Griffin said. I was thinking that it starts with difficult conversations with students and their receptiveness. And I don't know if that's a word, receptiveness, but their receptiveness to the conversation. And I know that's hard to start the ball rolling as far as if there's a student that if there's a student that blurts out or says intentionally or unintentionally a harmful phrase to another student. And I'm really glad that you're explaining so eloquently, or actually I'm thinking about the right word to use here. It's great that we're going away from hate speech to dehumanizing, because to your point, I think it was Valerie, you said they're not hating somebody. A student's not hating another student. That can occur, but most of the time that's not what's occurring, but it's dehumanizing words or phrases said to the student. And I'll share something. A couple of students, somehow my own children don't like to tell me things that happen. I don't know if you guys are in the same situation as I am, if you have teenagers, but their friends tell me, right? So I'd listen. And so they were I forget who said it's embarrassing sometimes to go forward and say something to an adult. So they felt comfortable last week, and they had told me, we were in a class. I won't even say what school site. We were in a class, and this boy bumped into us and he said, "Move over, fatso." And they had a hard time telling me this, and they felt embarrassed. And I asked them if they want to go talk to a counselor at school, tomorrow, because it was after school hours. No, we don't want to tell anybody else, because it's embarrassing to say that. Now that's not racial induced at all. That is not a racial connected comment, but that's a hurtful comment. And I really think that goes right along with that's a dehumanizing comment. And those two girls, they didn't feel like going to class the next day. That same class where they're going to see the person who had done that to them made those comments. So I think if a student knows how their comment can impact somebody and how their comment can be so hurtful, I think that would really be helpful. But we can't really make sure that happens when people are not reporting it. They don't want to, they told me that we don't want to be a snitch. And we're also embarrassed to say this to our counselor. But I'm happy to hear that we have apps because almost all students have access to a cell phone. And certainly all of our students have access to our wonderful counselors on campus. And I'm hoping that all the students find at least a few of their teachers that they feel close enough, whether it's their current teacher or a teacher from the prior year, they can talk. But I felt grateful that the two students came to me and they were just opening up about it. But I just brought that up. I wasn't going to bring that up, but I felt moved to bring that up because that is dehumanizing language, and you can't put it in a category of, is it racial? Is it inequity? Right. It's just dehumanizing language, and it's hurtful. So I think one of the things I wanted to mention was making sure that all students know about that app or some way to report it. I know they all know their counselors. They know their wellness counselors. They know their counselors for academic, and they have teachers that they feel comfortable talking to. But there's certain things that are just embarrassing to talk about, and that was one of the incidences. But to Trustee Griffin's point, what can we do going forward is I would like to see all students feel supported, all students feel comfortable in going to a counselor to talk about what had happened, whether it was that day or whether it was a week ago. I know there's no time frame. I think counselors are always there for our students. And I want to thank all of the staff for being there. Thank you.
Thank you. And to that point, normalizing being able to say something. We had a conversation earlier this evening where we were talking about how because people are feeling more comfortable to express when something is happening to them, that more people are coming forward with a specific situation we were talking about. So maybe that might help to keep normalizing that. But one of the questions that we get a lot is around accountability, like how are people held accountable for dehumanizing language, and who holds them accountable, and what happens when it's not, when it's not followed. So I don't know if you can answer that, but what does happen, I guess?
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, when it comes to accountability, I think all of us as educators, all adults are on campus are accountable for interrupting dehumanizing language. So I want to start there. That it isn't just one person. And if we have a mentality on our campus that it's just the dean or just the assistant principal, we're really going to fall short. It's all of us. But there are layers to that, so that when dehumanizing language or hate speech occurs and it's interrupted and maybe interrupted a second time and then reported to an assistant principal or a dean or the principal, that there are steps, and I think that were outlined in this presentation, that we have to take. And a lot of that is following through with the student, alternatives to suspension that we talked about, education, but also following back up with the staff member or the educator that reported it. What did we do? What were some of the outcomes? And hopefully, you know, when it comes to education and consequences, it's really about a change of behavior, and not a change of behavior that only occurs on our campus, but a change of behavior that occurs within that child's life.
Be a culture change.
A culture change,
Yeah.
a community change. And so we talked about some of the accountability measures in the presentation. But I think it's incumbent upon all of us to follow the steps, to ensure that there's follow through, that there's a feedback loop, and not just with the student, but also with their family as well. I think it's going to take all of us as a community, educators, the students, and we heard, I mean, they're not here at this point of the night, but we heard from students at our last board meeting loudly on this, loudly, and they want to see action, and they want to take the steps that our principals are taking, that our school sites or counselors are taking. So more work to do, but all of us.
Great, Dan, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. It was excellent. You know, you all do the best you can, you know, and that's it. You can tell how compassionate you are and how much change, but it's going to take everybody. It's a cultural shift, but we have to start somewhere, right? So it's not going to be fun and easy, and it'll hurt and it'll be uncomfortable, but we have to do it. Thank you. Okay, moving on to the next presentation. Presentation of the 22-23 Measure O and L Citizens Oversight Committee Annual Report and 22-23 Measure O and L Annual Financial and Performance Audit. Mr. Hawkins.
Thank you so much. I'm just going to turn it over to Erica Lyons, who is leaving me apparently.
Do that. I'm sorry.
No, we appreciate you waiting, so you can play a joke on me. One of our wonderful members of the Citizens Oversight Committee. The Citizens Oversight Committee is really an unheralded group who does incredible work, really ensuring that the promises that were made to the community when we went out and asked the community for to support the Measure O and Measure L bonds, and the amazing work that could be done with those funds. So as you don't want to see me, you would like to hear from her. I'm going to turn it over to Erica to go over the annual report and the audit.
Thank you, Yancy, and thank you, Trustee Chavez, Superintendent Booker, Trustee Andrade Zuniga, Trustee Griffin, and Superintendent Black, Dr. Black. Thank you. I'm Erica Lyons. For those of you who don't know me, I'm going to be a parent in this district for only 35 more days, but you're not getting rid of me just that much. In fact, Bob, I think you're our speaker here at San Mateo, so do me some proud so I can shed extra tears as I kick my last child out of this district, but I'm not going anywhere. I'll still be around. So, well, those are some hard presentations to follow. Our stuff's pretty cut and dry, but the wheels are spinning. So I am here on behalf of the Citizens Oversight Committee. We have entirely way too much fun as a committee. If you've sat in on our meetings and tours and things like that. So the role of the COC is simply just to make sure that our taxpayer dollars are being spent well. That was the thing that honestly drew me to this committee. And I'm kind of a wannabe construction nerd too. So the most important responsibility is to ensure that, the bonds are being spent in the most judicious of way, because the voters expected that. And so we deliver on that. We review, financial data. We accept the financial performance and audit reports, every year from, I've got to remember the name of the people, James Marta and Company. I have it right here in this big fat packet right here. The best part of this is when we get in the bus and we cruise and we see what's going on around the district. That's when the nerd in me really gets into it. Terry and I have even jumped on some equipment. We like us some tractors and some hard hats. That's kind of fun too. And we review change orders. We get to work with Yancey and his entire wonderful group. And, we have some scrutinous questions at times, and he's got the answers. I'm extremely impressed by that, if I haven't told you that lately. And we also create and distribute our annual report of the bonds program. So in going over Measure O and L, so you guys all have a copy of it. I think I've got my watermarked thing here. And I'm happy to present this to all of you with our activities that we did throughout the year, the financial summaries, anything else that we deemed important to share is also in there. You'll see the attachment, and then the financial report and the performance audit. And we didn't find anything. I mean, it's kind of wash, rinse, repeat. We don't really find anything because the team is really delivering. I mean, it's impressive on a I come home and I can't even come down after the meetings, because it's just like, there's so many great things happening, and all you have to do is just drive around and see what we're doing. And you realize that there's some really great things happening here. So if anybody has questions, I'm going to direct you to him because I don't know the particulars, but thank you for letting me present tonight. So
Thank you.
thank you. All about you. So.
Okay. I will open it up to the trustees for questions, comments. Go ahead.
Thank you, Ms. Lyons, for coming and speaking on behalf of the committee. She's absolutely right. We have a great time. But I will say I've been part of the committee for a little more than a year, maybe a year and a half. We've never had a community member just drop by to watch the meeting or just join in. And it's a completely open meeting to anybody. But I will say that this is a dedicated group of volunteers. They scrutinize the numbers. They ask a lot of questions. The entire group, they are dedicated. They are just face down into the weeds, into the numbers. They ask a lot of great questions. One time we had a really, really exciting field trip, and that was great. We went to all the school sites, just like Erica touched upon. We went to all the school sites and toured all of the new construction projects. And I'm very proud that our district has new facilities on almost every school site. But I want to thank you for your presentation, for directing us to look at the presentation. All the attachments are on the agenda. And so thank you for that. And thank you for volunteering all these years.
Oh,
Great.
well, I've only been here a little bit longer than you, but that was with the committee. But,
okay, with the committee, yeah.
And if I can make a comment, when I'm out in the community and I'm talking to parents of younger kids who are going to feed in, I highlight what you guys are doing and what's going on here. And I'm quoted as saying, I kind of wish my kids were still like 10 and 8.
Right.
Because there's so many great things coming online. Or I wish the baseball fields were up to snuff when my son was playing at VHS. That would have been so much more fun to play interdistrictly with those teams as well. And so it's just when I think you guys can't knock the socks off of your 35 days still yet to go parent, you do. So thank you. That's just my unsolicited thank you to the board and everybody here.
Thank you. Do you have any comments?
I just thank you for your, I try to get to those meetings and it's kind of few in between, not as much as we used to, but I know the committee works really hard and they're diligent about their work. And it's not as much fun as you like to make it sound like. There's a lot of work that goes with the chuckles.
We live for the bus trip.
Yeah. They-
He did. And then I made food, We're a fun group.
Anyway, and I know James Marta does, he's a thorough auditor. I've heard his presentations over and over, so.
Yeah, thank you so much for everything. I mean, that I was able to sit on that committee for about a year. And it's definitely a lot of work. But you all are just so dedicated. So thank you. No, we need more parents. So your successor, we've got to find your successor.
We're recruiting.
We don't want her to leave
Excellent.
though.
Not
We'll just-
leaving.
Yeah.
No,
And I
no.
want to say real quickly, thank you for staying this late. I know it was towards the end of the meeting.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I think
thank
you
you.
appreciate the presentations that came right before yours. So but again, thank you for staying.
Welcome.
Great.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Do we have any comments from the public?
No, there are none.
Okay. We can do a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Okay. Trustee Griffin moved.
I second.
Trustee Chavez seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Motion carries. Thank you.
That is, all right, my friend. You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay. Now we'll move on to item R, construction. Approval of BHM construction, Mr. Hawkins.
All right, give me 1 second. I apologize.
It's okay.
Okay, so this item is for the BHM construction. Their guaranteed maximum price for the leaseback for the Burlingame High School music class renovation and Building C HVAC replacement projects. So the board has already approved the budget for this project. These costs are included within that budget. And it also already approved BHM as the approved leaseback contractor. So the last piece is that GMP, or what we usually consider the contract price. So the total is 2.65 million. That was the budget. The bids were 2.108 million, including a contingency of 127,000. So I'm happy to answer any questions. Just to be clear, the music room work will be done in the summer of 24, and the HVAC replacement actually will be done in the summer of 25.
Thank you. Questions? Comments? Okay, great. Do we have any questions or comments from the public? Thank you. Okay, I'd like a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Motion by Trustee Griffin,
I'll second that.
second by Trustee Chavez. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay. Item 2, approval to authorize the superintendent to award a GMP contract.
Thank you. This is for the phase 2 transite work at Mills High School. Primarily, this work includes an entire replacement and revitalization of the front of Mills High School. A lot of the work you will see will be taken away, and new shade structures, areas for students to kind of hang out, do homework, be with friends, but it'll be a completely new frontage. It also includes some other minor improvements over that. Coulter has already been accepted as the contractor for this. Again, this is just finalizing the GMP, and the 2.3 million, not to exceed 2.3 million, is already included within the adopted board budget. So we do not need to increase that for this item. So
Great.
with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you.
And this work will be done in the summer of 2024.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the board? None?
We don't have a contract yet, or do we?
No, we're finalizing that with Sean Absher. That's why we're authorizing the superintendent to sign the contract not to exceed 2.3 million. But that's just to ensure that we get that work done in the summer of 2024. As Erica noted, we're only 35 days away, so we want to get them locked in and ready to go so that
That's fine.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Great. Okay. Thank you. Any comments or questions from the public?
There are none.
Thank you. Okay.
I'll
I'd
make a
like
motion.
Thank you. Motion by trustee Griffin,
I'll second that.
second by trustee Chavez. And no discussion. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, moving on to S, Division of Human Resources.
Right, we have the personnel consent, which is the personnel actions, some transfers to the San Mateo Adult Center and Education. An agreement with Notre Dame Namur for student teaching, and then a revision of our student acceptable use policy for technology.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Any items that want to be pulled? No? Okay. Any comments from the public?
There are none.
Thank you. Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion.
I'll move adoption of the consent agenda
Thank you.
for eight.
Motion by trustee Griffin,
I'll second that.
second by trustee Chavez. No discussion, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to T, Division of Human Resources.
Right, we have the personnel actions addendum, and we have one recognition. Michael McCall, math teacher at Hillsdale, has submitted his retirement effective at the end of the school year. He's been with the district for 12 years.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board?
None.
None? Questions or comments?
No.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments from the public? No? Thank you. Since there's no discussion, all in favor?
We gotta give a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. My goodness.
It's okay.
I'm like, my brain wants to like be out the door.
No apologies necessary.
Yeah, you know.
Motion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion by trustee Griffin, second by trustee Chavez. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay. Item 2, approval of continued funding for Parent Venture.
Right, we've had Parent Venture for 2 years. This is an approval for another year. It's a provider for high quality parent and community education on critical issues like mental health and substance abuse and digital media.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
Just a comment real quick. Just want to say this is important. So I'm glad I'm always happy to see items on the agenda regarding students, obviously, but regarding mental health and also helping parents. So this is great. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Any questions or comments from the public? Thank you. Okay, I'd like a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Thank
Second.
you. Motion by trustee Chavez, second by trustee Griffin. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, item 3, approval of the American Fidelity renewal.
To comply with the American Affordable Care Act, there's a lot of tracking, and you probably get that every year in your taxes. We went out for a request for proposal a few years ago, and the AFA was had the best proposal at the best price, and they've every year they've given us good service, on-time service, a lot of analysis. So we ask that we can approve this for another year, approve their contract for another year.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? Okay, I hear none. Questions or comments from the public? Thank you. I'd like a motion.
I'll move to approve.
Motion by trustee Chavez.
Second.
Second by trustee Griffin. No discussion, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Division of Student Services.
Not tonight.
Thank you. Item V,
No-
Division of Instructional Services.
Not this evening.
Thank you. Item W.
Not this evening.
Thank you. Okay, item X, board operations. Review and discuss the specific board policies. Dr. Black.
Yes, these are the legislative updates. If
Mhm.
there's not any questions, these would move to the next board agenda for approval, consent agenda for approval.
Thank you. I actually have a question.
Okay.
With the COVID-19 policy going away, is there any placeholder that we have or like some sort of other policy, like a general policy, if we ever do have anything similar happen? Anything like that we need to have?
In what respect? I'm sorry.
So since we're not going to have the COVID-19 policy
Yeah,
anymore, anything similar, like talking about any other sort of pandemic or health emergency or anything like that?
No,
Do we have to have anything? like
I don't think so. I think if we ever had any kind of health emergency arise or anything like that, we would most likely be following the county health
Okay.
department, and they would guide us in developing additional policy.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious to see if there was just anything that would be like a placeholder just until that would happen. Okay, now that we had this
Don't worry. nothing happens
experience.
Twice.
Oh.
Hey, don't say that. Yeah, don't say that out loud. Yeah, because we never know. I mean, what if?
I mean, what you're saying is true, but it's kind of like saving your old pants for waiting for them to come back in style, and
But they
never
do. Have you seen?
I saved my old
You
pants
should
trying
think
to
they
get back
do.
into them.
Hey, parachute pants are back, I'm telling you. Okay,
So
okay,
I think, is it all right if we bring those back to consent?
yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
thank you.
Okay, do we have any questions or comments? No. Okay, anything from the public? No, thank you. Okay, we'll move it to consent for the next meeting. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, future board item agenda items.
So we have a number of items coming our way. Our logo update, our district-wide logo update will be coming to us in late May. We're going to look to address some CTE pathways, academic counselors, definitely having a gateway update, instructional leadership update as well, the LCAP, our budget, all the normal end of the year things. So not too many school board meetings left, but lots of topics. So more to come.
Thank you.
But are there any other topics the board would like to see?
I don't think so. Do you all have anything else?
No, I won't ask about the environmental anymore. So I'm done. Thanks.
Okay, great. All right, well, we'll move to adjourn. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great meeting.
Yeah, great job. It's a lot to get through.
Yeah, I didn't think the was gonna be this long for it. Erica had to wait.
That's
You know, it's gonna
about
be
the
this long.
water.
Oh, yeah. That was gonna be much longer.
You're
You
trying
didn't have
to
any public
water.
comment.
I've done